This today, I think, is probably one of the most important webinars you can watch about your career. And because I'm going to talk today about the major mistakes that people make related to work, getting work. I'm going to talk about a lot of things that have hurt and actually rescued a lot of careers that I've seen in my career doing what I do. So I'm very glad you're here, and I think this should help you. What we're going to do, I think, is we'll do what we always do each week. I will take I'll do the webinar, and then we'll take a short break, and then I'll come back. And this is a live webinar, so at that point, and then I'll start answering questions, any questions anyone has. And you can ask questions about this webinar or anything related to your career as well. So one of the things that happens, and it happens to attorneys at all levels, it happens to associates, it happens to partners, it happens to people in-house, but at some point, wherever you are, you're going to be in a position where the work that you're doing is going to dry up, and it will dry up at some point in your career. And that means you will suddenly be in a position where you have nothing to do. I've seen it happen to partners that have done very well in their careers and been at big firms and always been given things to do, and then made partner at these giant, great firms. And then all of a sudden the work slows down. They don't have work to give them, and they lose their job and don't have anything, and they're out essentially looking for a position. They go in-house and do other things. I've seen it happen to associates. It happens very early in their career sometimes. I've seen it happen to people in pretty much every type of legal position there is. And when it happens, it's not good. And if it does happen, you better know what to do. And this is something that just happens to a lot of people. What happens when it does happen is you generally become unemployed or underemployed. People become very depressed. They become nervous, and it's not a good thing at all. And when you look at the people that are on the street and begging, and it's generally people that don't have work to do, and it's people that these are people that don't have work. And so not having work is a very serious thing. And because once you're unemployed as an attorney, especially if you're coming from a law firm, you're going to have an incredibly difficult time finding a position, especially with a large law firm, if that's where you want to work. An unemployed attorney it's certainly you can get a position, but in many cases, they're almost like lepers. It's very sad. Especially in large markets where there's so many people that are competing for the same jobs. Law firms just literally, and sometimes they'll write ads and they'll post. These are like the biggest law firms there are. They'll say no unemployed attorneys apply because you become literally like a leper. Now I'm going to teach you today how to not to be unemployed. I'm also going to teach you how to get a job if you are unemployed. I'm going to teach you all these things because I care, and this is very easy for me to teach you what to do, but this is a big deal. So if you do not have work to do and you're slow, you need to better figure out how to get work right now. This is an emergency, and I don't care. Even small law firms, in-house employers, and others fear the unemployed attorney, and I'm going to tell you why. It's not a good thing. This is bad. So you should not be unemployed. And I don't know exactly why it is. I'm going to give you some ideas why I think it is, but I'm going to tell you, in my experience, what firms will say. But most law firms, if they see an attorney that's unemployed and other employers, they think there's something wrong with the person. Now, you could have been in a firm that laid off 50 people, and when they laid off 50 people, you were one of them. They don't care. They don't care. They know that there were 60 people there, and 50 were laid off and 10 are there. There's no attorney rating agency that says this attorney is good. All they have to go on is the facts. And if the facts are that you're unemployed, that's a rating right there. That means you get an F. I don't care what happened to you. I don't care, what happened, but it's not good, and it hurts you and it holds you back. And the way the law firms kind of see it, sometimes people will quit. Now that's even more insane. Like if you're at a law firm and you don't like it and you quit because you think you don't the atmosphere is toxic, or you're not getting the kind of work you want. I've seen some really frickin' stupid things. I've seen people that go to work in a law firm, and the law firm, and they say, I want to be a white collar litigator. And the law firm says, great, we'll give you the white collar litigation work when we have it. And they don't give them any work in white collar for 2 or 3 months, and then they quit, and no one ever hires them again. I know a guy that did that, and he never found a job again with a firm. He ended up becoming a contract attorney, and he was one of the top graduates of his top 10 law school. I mean, these are big deals. I mean, like if you leave your job without securing a new one, that's a problem. And here's kind of how the thought process goes. So the first thing is, most law firms believe, rightly or wrongly, that if you left your job without a new one, you just left your job because the atmosphere was toxic, you weren't getting the work you wanted because, I don't know, because who knows? I mean, you have all sorts of, because the firm was being unethical or something, which may be true, but that you can, but whatever. I mean, like you need to, if you leave your job, that's what the firms are going to think. They're going to think you've been fired, and then the law firm's also going to think that if you left your job without a new one, you must have been doing bad work. If you may not have been able to get along with others, so that's a problem. A lot of times you'll say it's toxic, or the firm was not a good place to work, or all this. And all that means when you're saying that stuff is that you can't get along with other people. You're not part of the tribe. You're not part of the group. You're an individual who puts their needs above others. So, I mean, none of this is good. Other times, if you're laid off, the law firms will just think you're unable to understand politics. You can't get along with the right sort of people and the people that will protected you. Now, I want to say right now at this point in the webinar that I know this stuff is not easy to listen to. If I was listening to people telling me something that I'm telling you right now, I would be upset, and I wouldn't want to hear it, and I would, tune out. And that's fine. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but this is actually a very positive webinar. So I'm not going to be talking about this negative stuff the whole time, but I want to set the stage so you understand some of the drawbacks and the issues that you're facing. The law firm also thinks if you don't, if you're a partner and you don't have a lot of business and you're not working, that you must not be that good at what you do. No, so this is for senior associates and partners and other people like that. If you're really good at your job, clients should be begging you trying to give you work. I don't care. They should be begging. You should be getting referrals. Clients should be telling people they know. Like you should be writing papers and giving talks to associations. Work should be coming to you. And if you're in this position where it's not, and other partners in the firm aren't giving you work, that's a problem too. So I'm sorry, but none of this is good. And if you're employed longer than a few months, then the law firm thinks there's something seriously wrong with you, because you can't sell yourself. You're not hungry enough to get yourself a job. You can't get out there and do what you need to do to find a position and get employed. This is all bad stuff. Okay, you can't represent yourself. There are over 25,000 law firms that I work with at BCG Attorney Search, 25,000. And that's just scratching the surface. I mean, and again, I'm not saying it's, you have solo practitioners. So you've got that hire attorneys from BCG. That's tens of thousands more. I mean, there are so many freaking, when I say law firm, I'm talking about 5 people, 10 more, but there's a lot of even smaller groups. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. And if you're not getting a job after a few months, the law firm thinks you're either lazy and not looking for a job, or you don't know how to sell yourself. Why would you represent a client if you can't represent yourself? Are you entitled to, are you the kind of person you'd want to be representing you if you were a client? Or maybe you're being blackballed by your former firm and really upset some people. Now that does happen. It's uncool. It rarely happens at big firms. Big firms are actually the nicest people. They don't blackball people. The only people that blackball people that I've seen are sometimes it's mostly patent attorneys. I don't know why. Like patent attorney firms, there's just something weird about it. I'm not saying patent attorneys are weird, but most firms do not blackball people. That's just pretty rare, but it does happen. So this is kind of the what you're up against. And I just want you to understand that. So if you're not employed and you don't have work and that's a problem, that's what's going on. And this is how people are thinking. And it's your responsibility to block against that. So the legal profession obviously is savage, very savage. If you don't have access to work at all times, you're going to be, frankly, I don't want to, you're going to be in trouble. And it's just how it is. And I don't want to be, I hate to be the messenger here of any of this, but that is the absolute fact. I want to be, just give you a couple of examples here. So do you think that Elon Musk is good at creating work? I mean, my God, he's decided to step into Twitter and revamp that and buy it and fix that and fight with people. And he's decided to launch a space company to go to Mars and to launch all the satellites and things for the government. And he's decided to start an electric vehicle. That person is an example of someone that's created work. Do you think Jeff Bezos is good at creating work? Do you think people that write the movies and television shows that they just kind of make up out of thin air are good at creating work? Do you think people that write books are creating work, good at creating work? Do you think politicians are good at creating work when they go out and they fight for the right to work by getting elected? I mean, anybody that you admire in this world is good at creating work. I remember I'm going to talk a lot about creating work today, but I just want to tell you that success is all about creating work. I made a mistake early in my career, and it took me a long time to get rid of this mistake. I used to believe, and this is probably what a lot of people on this call believe, most people believe. I believed that if I hired someone that went to Harvard Law School, Yale Law School, Duke Law School, like all these great law schools, and hire a Penn and hire them to be recruiters, that they would be really good at their jobs. That's what I believed. I believed that because I thought, wow, well, they must be smart, and being smart is really a sign of being someone that's going to be good at everything. Little did I know that the reason a lot of these people, and again, I'm not poo-pooing the recruiting profession, but when I hired them, most of them were people that were not working. They weren't working, and I thought, isn't this a tragedy that someone with this background isn't working? And then they came to work for me, and in most cases, they had no idea how to create work. Now, I'm not saying that for everyone because it's not true. Some are very good at creating work and are, gone on to great things, very great things. But the majority of people were not good at creating work. And what does that mean? If you're a recruiter not creating work, that means not finding more places for you to apply. That means not going out and calling law firms and begging them to interview. That means not trying to find candidates for jobs. It means, I couldn't believe it, but this is the majority of the people that I hired. And in contrast, I've had people that have been working in my company for 20 plus years that do nothing but create work. And it doesn't matter if they went to college. I don't care. It doesn't, they're very good at their jobs and they're able to create work. And that's what's needed. You need to be able to create work. If you create work, you will be welcome any place you go. And so I'm going to talk a lot about that today, but just don't think because you're smart, you're going to get anywhere. I'm amazed, about when I think back on all these people that I hired that with great qualifications didn't know how to create work, and it's a cancer. And because they didn't know how to create work, they're in positions now, most of them, where they're not working and not doing much at all, and that's sad. So if you're unemployed and don't have work, you need to go very aggressively and get a new job as fast as you possibly can. There's no doubt about it, because if you don't do that, that's showing the firm that when you get there, you don't know how to find anything either. You're going to have the same problem. And you don't need to do it tomorrow or next week, or tomorrow or next week. You need to do it now. You should be you should be doing whatever you freaking can to find opportunity for yourself. And that goes if you're currently employed as well, which I'm going to talk about all this today because it's all very important. But, I have seen multiple examples. When I say multiple, I mean countless of 40-year-old attorneys who went to the best law schools, practiced in the best firms, were laid off, lost their jobs and so forth, and now live with their parents. I see this all the time. You wouldn't believe it. I speak with people like this. Now I don't speak with them daily because because I don't speak with attorneys, every attorney that comes to our company looking for a job, but I see them daily when I look at our, database, and it's unavoidable, it's unfortunate, and it's just stupid. Because what you're doing when you don't know how to create work, when you're not working, when you're not out there finding things to do, is you're doing the exact wrong thing that you should be doing. It's the biggest hole in your resume. There's a funny story. It's called, and I heard someone give a talk once. It's called I don't know. It's about someone that's swimming, and they're holding on, trying to swim, holding onto a big rock, and they keep drowning, and all these people are on the shore screaming, "Drop the rock, drop the rock," and the person just keeps trying to swim, holding onto this rock, and eventually they drown. Well, here, your situation, if you're having all these problems, is you don't know how to find work or create work. And that's the biggest problem that attorneys have. It's why people don't succeed as partners. It's why people have to leave law firms after a couple of years because because they're not becoming partners. It's why partners stay non-equity partners. It's why associates don't make their hours. I mean, this is it. This is the rock, and you need to drop it and learn that this is what you need to do in your career to survive. I don't care if you were first in your class from a top 5 law school. None of this matters. No one cares. The only thing that matters is your ability to create work and have things to do. And if you knew that, you would be in a better situation. So I'm just, I don't like telling these stories, but I tell these stories because they happen all the time. Men, especially, that are supported, and again, I'm not being sexist here, but a lot of men become attorneys and they support families, and then they whatever, they feel like they're a big deal because they're at the firms, and then a lot of these people lose their jobs, and then they all not all of them, but a lot of them get divorced. So your contract with some spouses is that you are expected to support your family. Now, again, I'm not trying to be sexist here or anything like that, but if you can't fulfill that contract because you can't get work, that's a problem, and it's bad. People that can't create work, they do things like they start drinking or using drugs, and then they die early. I mean, this is serious stuff, guys and girls. It's very serious if you don't know how to create work. And later people become bitter and angry, very difficult to talk to, just, very negative. You say something positive and you get something negative back, and it's just depressing. And none of this needs to happen. It's too much stress. It's too much heartache and problems and that happen in attorneys' lives due to a lack of work. Now, I've put in the chat, I put a copy of a book called Think and Grow Rich, which it's just public now. I mean, the copyrights are expired, so you can take it. I've also put another chat called something about the importance of creating work, which is an article I wrote on my personal blog years ago. And then I don't know, another one about I don't know what the other one's about, but the Think and Grow Rich, I would buy it. I bought the book for my daughter a while ago, and I bought her like a leather covered edition and told her, if I ever died, it was the most important book she could ever read and how much it could help her, and she could pick herself up even if she never had any education. And there's a statement in there just about the importance of work and creating things to do and specializing, and it's really something I recommend that you read. I mean, it could change your life. What I'm talking to you about today probably can give you the tools to do so if that's what you want. But at the same time, that's a very good book, and I recommend reviewing it because it can help you in getting work. It's very, very important. Again, I know attorneys from the top law firms in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and everything that are unemployed and are now working as contract attorneys, reviewing documents. I know some that are. I've seen ones that are truck drivers. That's always fun. I had a girl that went to Columbia Law School and was one of my first hires as a recruiter, and had worked in a big New York law firm with me. And when I hired her, she was a waitress. Okay, so again, and this is the only job that she could get. I want to be clear with you, a waitress. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a waitress, but that seems to me a pretty frickin' hard landing after going to where did she go? I don't know. It was at college. I mean, I don't know. She went to like I don't know, Penn and then Columbia Law School or something. I mean, and then worked at this big firm for 5 years. I know another guy that went to University of Chicago Law School and then became bartender for 4 years. Now, I ended up helping him get a job, but I just want you to understand that this is what happens to people that don't know how to create work. Okay, and again, I use these law school examples. The law school is irrelevant, because it can happen to anyone, but this happens to the most talented people as well. And this is what awaits you if you don't understand how to create work. This is what your future could be. And again, I don't know that I would not. I mean, I think personally, being a bartender would be a lot of fun. I think that being a truck driver would be a lot of fun. So I'm actually being 100% honest here. I even think being a waiter would be fun because I like the idea of talking to people. Then you get the truck driver and the open road. But I'm telling you that this is stuff happens, and these people do this because they think it's the only option that they have after having gone into law firms. And again, I see this stuff all the time. Like when I say all the time, I mean daily. So because I review resumes all day. So this is what I see. And so getting access to work is incredibly important. And I'm sick of it. I mean, it's just so stupid. Like, again, it's like drop the rock. Like this is the one thing that's holding you back. And it holds almost every attorney back. Almost every attorney never becomes a partner in a law firm. Why is that? Because, and they leave and they're like, oh, I'm only doing this for a few years because I never want this kind of life. No, yeah, who would want to be an expert in a subject matter, have big companies or other people asking for your advice, make a very awesome income most of the time, have control over your destiny, run your own business, which is what partners do. Who would want that? It's much more attractive to go work in a company and not have really much employment security and have your income capped and give your work to outside counsel. I mean, come on, guys and girls, this is ridiculous. So, I see this every day. And it's very disturbing. I don't like seeing wasted potential, and most people are wasting their potential because they don't know how to get work. I speak to really successful people all the time, and I seek them out, and I do whatever I can to learn from them. And my favorite people to talk to a lot of times are successful partners. Like successful partners in law firms, their MO is not anything special. Some of them are just complete nerds, but they have a method. And let me tell you what that method is. It's really not that complicated. One guy I know in LA that I don't know what his book of business is, but right now, but by the time he was an associate, a senior associate, it was at least 10 million. He decided when he was a mid-level associate that he would, get up and get into work at, 5 or 6 in the morning, and then he would leave at around 4 and drive around LA just meeting with companies. That's just meet with companies. He had nothing, no work to give them, or not asking for work. Just wanted to learn about their business and tell them a little bit about what he did. And he did that for years, and of course, and he did that when he had no business. And now his book of business is astronomical, like, 50 plus million. I mean, this is the kind of stuff people do. When people become partners at a firm like Quinn Emanuel, the firm gives them a list of all the cases that were filed the previous day, and they call up every defendant that they can find, and these new partners all compete and call them and try to get work. This is what they do. This is what people like John Quinn did when he started Quinn Emanuel. He called every company that was sued in employment cases and told them that he would eat, sleep, and breathe. And people create work. This is what you need to do to be successful. I mean, my God, like this is the whole name of the game. If you don't do this, you're never going to be anywhere near your potential. You need to create work. This is all you need to do, like, to succeed. Getting work is 95% of the game. I was at and I'm not even going to say who it was, but I will actually. I was at a marketing seminar years ago for this guy named, and he is not someone that I, by any stretch of the imagination, follow or anything, but I was in San Diego and I was invited because I was doing work with this celebrity marketer, and they told me I could get in there. But I was watching this guy, Frank Kern, and he was getting up there telling all these stories about how he markets and markets this and markets that. And then at one point he said, he wasn't thinking, but he said, it doesn't even matter what you're selling because people just buy you and the marketing. It could be anything. And you don't even, he said, I've been selling the same thing over and over again, and again, I don't want to quote him exactly, but he said something like, and this is my recollection, he said something like, I've been selling the same thing over and over again of the same knowledge for my whole career, but it's 95% marketing. And to some extent, creating work is sort of like that too. You just have to be able to get out there, and 95% of the game is getting the work. Some of the attorneys, by the way, that bring in business aren't like the smartest. I mean, they're not the best attorneys, but they're the most in demand by the clients and also by the firms. So again, I don't want to talk too much about going in-house, but BCG is a law firm placement business. I know what we stand for. This is what we do. And the problem with going in-house, I've written a lot about it, is that when you go in-house, your skills are often going to diminish, and you're going to become someone that does work that's more generalist in nature. You're going to become a cost center, meaning that if the company wants to save money, you're often a good choice. And as you get older, you'll typically, your skills and motivation will deteriorate, and they'll bring in people with fresher skills and fresher motivation. That's what always happens. Or the businesses get sold. Do you see how often businesses get sold? It's insane. Like, businesses get sold or CEOs get fired. I have a good friend. Well, he's not my friend really anymore. Not for any, I just haven't spoken to him in like 5 years, but a good friend of mine was hired, spent years, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years trying to become the general counsel of some company. And he was loyal, and those things. And eventually the company just couldn't do it. They couldn't make him general counsel. And I don't know why it was. It was a big company, I don't know. And so he went to work at another company, and he got at the other company. And as soon as he got at the other company, the CEO decided, even though he'd hired a new general counsel, that he was going to hire someone that was his best friend, and the guy never had any work, and sat there in a small office, outside the CEO's office. Anyway, this stuff happens all the time. So it's very difficult when you have to rely on other people for work. If you go in-house, you're relying on other people for work, and you're working in an environment that's much more dangerous than working in a law firm, because in a law firm, you're running your own business if you get business, and you can always control that if you learn how to do that. But when you go in-house, it's very dangerous. And when an attorney tries to get a position after working in-house, it becomes very, very difficult to get new in-house positions. And it's you think it's difficult when you're a fresh associate that's been practicing for 2 to 7 or 8 years to get an in-house position. Some attorneys spend years doing it. Well, you're going to have an even tougher time after you're in-house. it's much harder. So if take that and multiply it by 5. Now, it's not that for all practice areas. There's some very specialized niches in in-house where it's actually easier. So it's not always the case, but it's a case a lot of times. And the other thing is law firms do not want to hire attorneys from in-house. I've seen it happen, rarely, but I've seen it happen. I've placed people. I placed someone in, I don't know, was it Perkins Coie in Idaho or something, from in-house, and the person was exceptional. I saw Latham hire a guy from in-house that was exceptional because he was the client. They'd never seen someone work so hard. And Latham, by the way, what an awesome firm. I mean, it's a really cool place. But the other thing is that, but attorneys, law firms often do not want attorneys from in-house. They almost never do that. They want younger people with more immediate relevant experience. They want people that are hungry, that are willing to work. What happens, just so you understand, when people go in-house, they come in with the intention to work, but then they realize very quickly that they can find pretty much anything that they're working on to give to outside counsel and have outside counsel do it. And they love that. So then they pretty much become just people that give work to outside counsel. Then what happens, and companies aren't stupid, then they become friends with the outside counsel, and the outside counsel flatters them. And so they start giving all the work to the outside counsel, and then the outside counsel does more work than necessary, and then the bills get high, and then the firm brings in someone else because they realize that the in-house counsel is not looking out for them. So anyway, that's just kind of how it works. And again, I've seen this more times than I can count. The majority of my career, I've been doing what I'm doing. I've been doing it for a quarter century. I love this, and to get people work. And I'm trying to shift your attitude on this today. I just don't like that. I don't know where the language in this PowerPoint came from. I love it, but I'm not going to talk like this. But falling down because they don't know how to get access to work or understand the importance of it. And again, this often happens to the best ones. A lot of times, the attorneys with the best background were the ones that this happens to, and that makes me sad. And what's funny is, when people aren't able to get work, what a lot of these kind of attorneys do, and again, I'm not criticizing it, but there was a hiring partner. It's pretty funny. Again, I shouldn't talk because I run a blog site called JD Journal, which is it talks about layoff rumors and all that kind of stuff. And but at the same time, there was one I've heard this from a couple law firms, and law firms, by the way, a lot of them, not all of them, but they monitor what sites you visit and how much time you're spending on them, and then partners, that are different people will get reports. And one partner said to me from a very good firm, that no one we've ever made partner spends time on above the law or something. I mean, and then, but before that, there was another site called Information, and it was a kind of like a gossip site for associates. And I remember partners saying something to me about that. So I'm not telling you not to read JD Journal, which but I'm telling you that the people that are concerned with bad news and gossip and all this stuff are the same people a lot of time that are spreading negative news and also complaining about their work and not getting work and all that. And this attitude needs to go. You should not ever hate people and organizations that give you work. What is wrong with you? If someone is giving you stuff to do and supporting you and your family, these are your saviors. These are the people that are helping you. The last thing in the world you want to do is be mad and go on to blogs and post negative comments about your employer. What is wrong? I mean, come on. I mean, let's wake up here. Someone's giving you work, a job, money, opportunity, and training, and you're criticizing them publicly? Are you out of your mind? Or taking joy in reading about them having problems or spreading rumors? No, this is not. You should love the people that give you work. Me personally, I love the recruiting coordinators that hire our candidates. I love the firms that hire our people. I do everything I can to help them. I go on to our blogs. We own another one called like Top Law Schools, and I, which is another kind of gossip site, but it's a little more positive in nature, but it says an employment forum and some other stuff. But again, you love the people that give you work. You should do everything you possibly can to support them and to think positively of them, because this is what you need to survive. Work is life. I mean, there's nothing more important than it. And so these are the steps you need to follow right now to get access to work. And I'm going to go through this, and I'll go through it in a lot of detail. But why do people have such a hard time getting access to work, and why do people not have work, and why are people having problems with that in law firms and so forth? And there's four things. It's your identity, your attitude towards work, waiting for things to happen in terms of instead of doing something about it, and not knowing what to do in order to keep access to work. That's it. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. This hopefully will be transformative for your outlook on all this. And hopefully my goal right now is to save your career and make you extremely successful. And I know that I've done that with a lot of people, because they tell me in the future when they've reached these heights of power. And this is a kind of information that's going to help you do it. I'm certainly not going to do it. And information is just stuff that I've observed, but I want to help you become the absolute best you can be. And that's what I'm going to try to do today. So the first thing, a lot of people have identity problems that are stopping them from getting access to work. And when I was in law school, because I created work for myself, always have. I'm creating work right now. I mean, this is work. I mean, I'm creating work, but I was creating work when I was in law school. I decided when I was a second-year law student to spend my weekends and vacations driving all over the United States in my 25-year-old car, interviewing personal injury attorneys, because I was interested in it. I thought I wanted to do that for a living, and I decided that if I was going to do that for a living, I needed to know something about it, which is exactly what you should be doing in any practice area you're interested in. No one does this. People would just wait for things to fall down on them. I mean, no, you need to get out there and investigate. But this is what I did when I was in law school. I also went into some large cities to do interviews. And by the way, this book I wrote, I think it was like 400 pages. And unfortunately, there wasn't grammar software and everything back then. And by the time it's very funny how many errors it had in it when I turned it in. But anyway, I drove into these small towns to interview attorneys. And when I was going into these small towns, and the ones I picked ones that I had some sort of connection with. So maybe they had also gone to University of Virginia Law School, or maybe they were in Pennsylvania and I saw they were from Detroit, which is where I'm from. I just did, other ways to kind of connect with them. And I decided I would interview people in different parts of the country. Unfortunately, I only got as far as Chicago and, maybe North Carolina in my car. I never made it to the West Coast. But when I drove to these small towns, towns, you'd see billboards on the highway advertising these people. I would also see them on television when I was staying in these cheap hotels at night, lying on the bed watching TV. And again, when I would go into these small, mid-sized towns, the most successful attorneys were all personal injury attorneys. It wasn't the corporate attorney and the person sitting around acting like a big deal, but the criminal law attorney was always a personal injury attorney. And all these attorneys got work because they only did one thing. They knew how to get access to work. It's just like that Frank Kern seminar. It doesn't even matter that the quality of the personal injury work. It's just about getting the person in the door. Do you know what personal injury attorneys do, by the way? This is a great racket. I just want to give you some understanding of how it works, because I know a lot of very successful personal injury attorneys, and I freaking can't believe it. all they do is you come in and you tell them you have you were in some accident. Sometimes we'll send out an accident investigator to the scene, but they'll basically file a lawsuit, and 98% of the cases that they take, sometimes more, settle, and they take 40% of your money plus cost. And they have a way of getting money, but they can do thousands of these at one time. It's an incredible profession. You can make a very good living if that's what you're interested in doing. So there are a lot of professions like this, but these personal injury attorneys, all they're doing is getting access to work. There's all over LA. It's the funniest thing. You should see these billboards. They're on buses. They're on, because it's free money. I mean, you spend $350 to file a lawsuit for someone that's in an accident and get some medical bills and stuff. And a guy that works for me, I couldn't believe it. He comes around and does like maintenance, like lawn, like not lawn care, but blowing leaves around, and that's power washing and stuff. And he was in an accident. He was in his pickup truck and someone rear-ended him. He wasn't even hurt, but someone's like, "Oh, you got to get a lawyer." So he went to this lawyer, and the lawyer told him to go to a chiropractor, and the guy got him like over $100,000 settlement for nothing. And this happens all day. Well, that means that actually he got 100. So that means the settlement must have been like 150. I don't know what the math is, but imagine making, or 200, I don't know, but imagine doing this all day. This is insane. This is how much money is going around in free money in this business. But these personal injury attorneys know how to get access to work, and they're very good at getting access to work. And this is the entire name of the game. Who cares how you get the work? There's nothing wrong with putting a billboard on the highway. You need work. It's all there is to it. Again, most attorneys with large prestigious firms would never think for a minute about doing this sort of advertisement, and they would make fun of these personal injury attorneys. They would think that, oh my goodness, there's something wrong with them for doing that. There's something, there's something very strange about that, and what's wrong with them? These guys are losers. It's very funny. Like there was this business organization I'm part of. This guy that I know is a personal injury attorney and tried to apply and be part of one of the chapters of it, and the chapters were like, we would never have a personal injury attorney in it because it's just like frowned upon. But it's like whatever, like he didn't care. I mean, and he was very successful, and I think the guy went to Stanford Law School. I mean, no one cares. I mean, personal injury attorneys are taking care of themselves. They know how to get work. It's very good. It's a very important skill. They do whatever it takes. They put billboards on highways. They survive, and they're on top of the world. A lot of them. Some of them have jets, and I mean multiple jets, and huge car collections, and big houses, and whatever. Now, does that mean they're happy? No, but I mean, does it show that getting work has financial rewards? Yes. Does it show that you can get work regardless of where you went to law school, and if you're able to do it, or regardless of your background? Yes. Does it show you can get work regardless of how you did in your LSATs and SATs or where? Yes, it does. It all proves it. It all proves the game is about getting work. Come on, like this is all it matters. You have to get work. People don't understand this, and then they make fun of people that don't have access to work. So it was funny, like I was working for a very important partner in a very prestigious firm not too long ago, and they had an office in some city. I don't know where it was. It was in Houston or something, and they only had a couple of attorneys there, and the two attorneys there had these incredible qualifications. I mean, just they were just this and that. I mean, in terms of their background, and so I got on the call with these guys, and they were like, we couldn't believe it. We investigated you, and we went to your blog, and we found out that you wrote an article. In the article, I think it was written in 2005, about getting colonics or something. And it wasn't even about me getting a colonic. It was just kind of a funny article, and we're very offended by that, and don't know how you could possibly help us, staff our office or whatever in Houston. And I was like, okay, well, that's your problem. But really, realistically, I mean, I was, smart enough to see through it. They were threatened because they kind of had this little office down there, and no one was competing with them, and they didn't want other people, so they were attacking me and finding reasons to do it, which is fine. Again, I saw it for what it was. But then I told the partner about it, and he goes, yeah, that's amazing that they would do that. And he said the same thing, that they were threatened. And essentially why they were doing that was because he said, I've been giving these two guys work their entire career. They are partners because of all the work I give them. They don't have any work of their own, and they're getting all the work from me. And so essentially what they were doing is they were trying to undermine me because they were worried that if I was able to build up their office, then they would no longer have his work or something, which might have been true. The point is that people that give you work are important, and it matters more than the school you went to. It matters. Well, that's not the point. The point is that people try to protect access to work, I guess, is one thing. And I don't know, but anyway, it matters more than the school you went to. It matters more than your previous experience. Nothing is more important than knowing how to get work. And again, all day, every day, talk to people that were formerly partners of big firms, associates who lost their jobs and quit. And again, so many people are caught up with prestige, their image, their brand, and are even afraid to apply to any job that is not a prestigious, well thought of firm. Now that is insane too. So when people, this is how, so like a BCG, like we have, and this is very funny actually, I guess, but we rank candidates and firms at a scale of 1 to 5. And 5 just means, that your clients will pay you whatever you bill them. And that firm has the highest possible hiring criteria, and meaning probably 1 in 1,000 attorneys could even consider applying there. And then your 4s are kind of your AmLaw 100, 200 firms, and then your most of them, and then your 3s are kind of your mid-levels, and as you go. But anyway, so if you take a 4 candidate or a 5, like they will never in a million years consider going to a firm that's ranked. The 5 candidate would never consider going to a 4. The 4 would never consider going to a 3, and so they just sit there, and they if you send them a firm beneath them, they think, oh my gosh, Harrison is really lost it here. He sent me a firm that's not as prestigious as, and then they sometimes will even be insulted and be like, I'm not going to work with this firm. I'm a recruiting firm. Why would they do this? And again, people are so caught up with the prestige, they don't understand the whole freaking idea. And the reason I'm sending them firms that may be a little below is because I know these firms have work, because they're interviewing people and stuff. And if you're at a big firm right now, like let's say you were just let go from Goodwin and you don't have any work, well, guess what, guys? All the people that were laid off the last time Goodwin laid off a lot of people, a lot of those people became solo practitioners and all sorts of things, because they're all caught up. They're there in Boston, went to Harvard and everything. They're all caught up in their prestige and never thought about maybe working at a less prestigious firm. Well, if you keep access to work, that's what you need to do. This is what it's all about. It's not about you and your ego. It's about in your brand and your image. It's about having something to do and not losing your job and looking like a freaking nightmare and not getting hired by future firms. This is what the game is. So when Harrison's sending you firms, like he's sending you places that he knows have work, not because he's insulting your image. Like, come on, like this is insane. People are unemployed because they don't know because they're not looking at places with work. They're only concerned about their image and their prestige and their brand. Absolutely insane. If you are unemployed, you need work. Come on. Like if you're going to lose your job, you need work. You don't need to worry about the fact that someone said something bad about your firm on some stupid blog you're reading about 6 months ago, or some memo went out 3 months ago about how someone said something at the firm that was sexist or whatever, or against your political beliefs or party. I mean, come on, you need work. And this is what the game is all about. It's not about your ego. It's not about politics. It's about finding a firm that's going to have work for you to do because you look up to and respect and care about the people that have work. This is all that matters. Wow, so ridiculous. People will spend months on the couch trying to get meetings, sitting around going to coffees and things and talking to people and talking to their therapist or their frickin' employment coach or resume counselor or whatever, and doing nothing because they think they're so special because they went to a great law school, worked at some big firm, and they can't even consider working in a less prestigious firm. Are you out of your mind? Like the thing is that a career, a legal career, and I say this all the time, I read stuff every day. Oh, this new drug was discovered that can, increase your lifespan by 10%. This is doing this every day will increase your lifespan. I mean, people now that are born, and I said this last week, your potential lifespan of someone that's born now, it could be like up to 150 years, they think. So, I mean, come on. So the average attorney, I've placed people at very prestigious big firms that are in their 80s and have business. So if you are 27 years old, that means you're going to be practicing probably another 50 plus years. Okay, so is it really a big deal if you go to a less prestigious firm for a few years at the age of 27 or 28? What in the world? Or would you rather be unemployed and have a black mark on your resume and have a very difficult time? I mean, come on, like this is crazy. Wow. Why would you need to go to a firm like the one that doesn't want you anymore? I mean, let's be honest here. You can't keep up with this charade. But I got another thing here. Law students are thinking, this happens on every week on these calls, there's law students that ask questions and say, oh boy, I went to a top 10 law school and unfortunately, I didn't get a summer associate job at a big firm. Is my career over? Or I didn't get a summer associate job at any firm. Is my career over? No, of course not. Your career is going to be 3 times longer than you've frickin' been alive. No, nothing is over. What? You just need to find some place that has work, and you can. With 25,000 plus law firms and hundreds of thousands of solo practitioners, there is work everywhere. There's work there. I mean, wow. There's so much frickin' work out there. Like you have to be crazy not to see all the work. So no, you do not need to worry if you're a summer associate or didn't get a summer associate job. You have to find a job. So my experience, if an attorney starts out their career at a major important firm, pick the most prestigious firm you can think of. The odds are much less, meaning that in several years out of law school, that the attorney who's going to start their job at a big firm is going to be practicing the one that started their job at a lesser firm and has gone to a lesser law school. That's right. So the point here is if you go to a good law school and start at a big firm, you're much less likely to be practicing law several years from now than you would be if you went to a lesser law school and started your career at a lesser firm. Meaning it's actually an advantage. I mean, this is just taken from Harrison, who has personally reviewed over 750,000 resumes, which is half of the attorneys in the frickin' country that have applied to work with me. I've reviewed their resumes because they've come in. This is the conclusion that I've reached after doing that personally. There's no other person on earth that's ever reviewed that many legal resumes. This is what I've done. That is my conclusion. You are much less likely if you are, so if you think you're really smart and great because you went to work at a big firm, you are much less likely to be practicing law at all that several years from now than if you didn't go to the best law school and didn't start at a big firm. That's just what it is. Now, why is that? I mean, there's a bunch of different reasons for that, but I hear it all the time. I'll tell you 2 quick stories because I mean, I don't want to tell stories all day, but I think I do like teaching through stories to some extent. I talk to candidates all the time. So, someone will be at a big firm in New York. Maybe I can think of one example. Recently, I was talking to some woman that had worked at a Schulte Roth and And she had, what did she do? I don't know. She'd moved to San Francisco or where, maybe it was San Diego. I don't know, but it was somewhere in California. Wicked smart. Took the bar without even hardly studying, which I would not recommend uh, by any stretch of the imagination. If you move to California, you need to spend at least 5 or 6 weeks doing nothing but studying for that bar. Just piece of advice. But this woman did it somehow. I mean, just incredibly smart. But the point is that she got a couple job offers, and she was like, and was she from Schulte? She might not have been at Schulte, actually. I think she might have been at Paul Weiss. There's another one I'm thinking. I think she was at Paul Weiss or some very prestigious firm. And she said, and she went to Columbia. And then I got her these offers. And she said, I've been talking to some people back in New York, and those firms really don't have very good names. So, I think I'm gonna, and I don't know what firm she got an offer. I'm gonna put Wilson's son. I mean, not Wilson's, but good, decent firms. And so I think I'm gonna pass. I don't know that that's good for my brand to have that on my resume. And I was like, you freaking kidding me? Like, and I kept calling her, and I wanted to keep her hooked, and so I invited her out to where I live in Malibu, and I had a rental house there, and then I let her stay there with her fiance for a couple of days because I wanted to meet with her. I mean, this is what I do for my candidates when I just think they're making huge mistakes. And I wasn't at that point. She turned down the offers. I was just trying to talk her into not giving up because I didn't understand what she was doing. Again, I mean, this is nothing Harrison trying to hook up or anything. She was with her fiance, who was actually Scottish and wearing a skirt, which is very funny. Anyway, so and I don't think they wear them normally, but he thought it was kind of fun going around with that. I don't know, but anyway, the point is that and she didn't take her job because she cared about what other people thought. And I see this all the time. I had another instance where another woman did the same thing from a New York firm. She'd been at where was it? I mean, another one of these top firms, and she moved to Ohio and got a job with a really good firm there, not Jones Day, but something similar, and said the same thing. And the point is that what these two women did, the one woman, the one whose husband was wearing a skirt, which anyway, or boyfriend, she decided that she was going to do something like go into a different profession entirely rather than practicing law at a less prestigious firm. That didn't work out, and now she's at home raising a child, and which is fine. I mean, she gave up because it wasn't as prestigious. I see the same thing. The woman in that didn't take the job that moved to Ohio did something similar. Like I looked her up, and I don't know, she was selling candles or something like that she was making on some website. I don't know, like this, we sell. I mean, what the heck? Like, really? Like, you're working at a $300,000 a year plus job, and you're like on top of the world, and all of a sudden you're selling candles, or starting a personal fitness business in San Diego because you don't want to work at a less prestigious firm. But this is what people do. Wow. I mean, happens all the time, and I keep seeing it again. I don't. This is what they do. They become LexisNexis representatives. Again, nothing wrong with that, but there is, if you're making $300,000 a year at a job where you're really using your mind, and then all of a sudden you're making like 70 or 80 working for Lexus, or you're taking a job inside of a company in HR, which again, there's nothing wrong with going to HR. I have a lot of respect for HR. A lot of very good attorneys go into HR, and a lot of in law firms or in companies. But again, it's different than and there's more personal contact, and they're more happy. But again, it's not something that makes a lot of sense if you're representing Samsung in an antitrust suit and taking depots of top corporate executives, and all of a sudden you go and you're inside a company and you're reviewing resumes for forklift operators. I mean, come on, give me a break. Some people like to take time to travel and figure out what to do, as if their job's going to wait for them, and and they're more important than that. Or Some people I've seen, work as insurance company. I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of this. But you're not practicing law anymore. And these people from the lesser law firms and lesser law schools just keep plugging away. It's amazing. I used to teach and be a professor or whatever, adjunct professor, whatever you call it, at this law school called Whittier Law School. I took this job. I applied for it and interviewed for it when I was a first year associate. Why did I do that? Because I was trying to build up my resume and look good. I wanted to look like a good attorney. I mean, like I was committed to the profession. I wanted to teach what I was learning. I wanted to look good to clients, and the law firm I was at was like, we've never seen anybody do this. What, are you serious? Like, I was like, yes. And I still billed whatever hours, a lot of hours, more than I needed to, and I still, but I did it. But anyway, the point is that Whittier I thought I liked my students. I thought they were good students, but at the time it was not ranked a very high law school, and no one was getting jobs out of there. And not only that, the law school has since gone out of business, meaning it's closed down because it had such a bad reputation and such a difficult time getting students. Well, you know what? Like, I keep following my students because I can look them up in the BCG database because, again, there's a lot of people in there, and they are all, most of them, the ones that I had that I remember, which is, out of teaching there a couple of years, I remember maybe 30, and practicing law and having good careers. One of the worst ABA law school there was, and a law school, and again, I'm not trying to defame any schools here, and a school that is not respected and was so bad it went out of business and literally had no, and those people still practicing law. Whereas if I go try to look up people from top law schools and things, not as many of them. So think about that, okay? None of this matters. If you think the law school you went to, and then when I say they're practicing law, some of them have firms. One of them, my top student, I remember, has a firm of 30 attorneys. Another guy, I mean, they just keep practicing, and they're excited about it, and again, they may not be working in these giant firms. A couple of them are patent attorneys, but again, they're doing well, and they're practicing law, and they have businesses, and they're partners, and come on, this is what it's about. And so a lot of people are unwilling to accept something less than the best possible firm, and they end up just fine, and they keep learning. And why should you quit completely? You got into a great firm because you had a serious aptitude for what you're doing and promise, but that promise is only contingent on keeping work coming and working. That's it. And people that don't get jobs with top law firms during recessions, or when they decide that they want to try to move to a better firm, they say things like, if I could get a job at a top law firm, if I can't get a job, what's the point of practicing? They talk about their salaries, not taking a salary cut. This is, I need to make market, not I need to keep working and have work coming in. I need to make market. And I'm sick of the hours, and I want to try something different. And again, the attorneys, I think, drop out of from the top firms a lot of times, drop out of practicing law because their identity is wrapped up with practicing law at a major firm. And they believe that they're a certain caste or class, and to drop out of practicing law completely rather than be associated with a lesser class or legal environment. And that sort of thinking is messed up. It's sick. It's not smart. It's very wrong. Do you think successful musicians, successful people in any field care about what other people think of them? Why do you care? What do you care? And again, I want to be very clear about this. This is a very important webinar, especially if you're of this type of person. Why do you care what other people think of you? Because your only objective is to continue practicing law and to have work and to make money and to have a career. Why do you care if people say, oh, this person went to work at this type of firm, this person is doing this? Because first of all, that's none of their business. Second of all, the people that talk like that are generally the ones that are going to have problems in the long run. But no, you should not care. You need to get off your high horse or worrying about what other people think and just worry about yourself. You cannot worry about other people. And I want to be very clear that you need to really only think about that. Again, that's your job is to stay employed. That's just the name of the game, and to keep work coming, and preferably almost always in a law firm. But if you don't, that's going to be problematical. So, I see people all the time that, one of the things I hate is, um, I'm sorry, but people a lot of times will define themselves for the rest of their career and their lives based on things that they did when they were young. So going to a really good prep school. If someone went to uh, Andover or St. Paul's or one of these schools, for some reason, I always hear about it. Like you hear about it within an hour of meeting them, generally, or half hour. I mean, which is okay. I mean, I went to a prep school, but I don't really care about it. I mean, I certainly don't define myself based on that. I know people that, and I was fortunate to have done that, and I'm not. I went there. My grandmother had been a librarian at the school, so I'm not saying I'm like some super rich family or something. But anyway, the point is that that you can't define yourself on these things. You can't define yourself on where you went to law school. People always say, "Oh, I was talking to a guy the other day. He's like, I went to University of Virginia Law School. I can't believe that I'm getting paid this amount of money. This is outrageous." And I had another woman working for me for University of Virginia Law School, and she's like, "Oh, I was talking to this candidate, and they found out where I went to law school, and I know they were intimidated because I went to such a better law school." No one cares where you went to law school. I mean, none of that matters. They only care if they like you and you're doing good work. That's all that matters. I'm sorry, but no one cares. Just because you got into law school, that means you got good grades. Okay. And you maybe got a good LSAT score, and maybe the LSAT's probably going to be eliminated. So it means you got good grades or the law school liked you. I mean, whatever. But none of this stuff matters. It doesn't matter where you worked. If you worked at a big firm, I met a guy, I don't know, like a couple of years ago, and all he could talk about was that he worked at, I don't know what the firm was. I don't know, it was like Morgan Lewis or something. I'm like, "Oh, you worked at Morgan Lewis?" Yeah, he kept talking about how he worked at Morgan Lewis. Well, it turns out he'd been a summer associate there, but then he didn't get an offer. And since that, and then he never worked in a law firm again. He's been working, I don't know, helping sell some sort of, I don't know, program, right? But anyway, he never worked, but he kept talking about that. You don't define yourself based on, you shouldn't be defining yourself based on these things. And just because you got a job in a big firm, you need to define yourself based on what you're doing right now and the work that you're getting right now. You can't define yourself on that. People that go to good colleges, I mean, I meet people all the time. I met one on Friday, kept saying, "When I was in college back east, when I was in college back east." Well, that always means Harvard, but no, you don't need to talk about this stuff. None of this, you need to define yourself based on what's going on right now. Because if you define yourself based on the status or class and believe that they fit and keep living this identity for decades, you're never going to do anything else with your career. I get people that tell me things in Weil Gotshal, another awesome firm. They'll say something like, "I worked at Weil Gotshal in the early 90s. Do you think I can never get a job practicing corporate law at a big law firm again?" And you ask what they've been doing the past 20 years, and they say a little bit of this and that. And again, you're missing being focused on prestige, being focused on where you're a summer associate, being focused on where you're currently working, being focused on where you're working in the past, are all things that are going to keep you hung up on the wrong thing. Again, would you rather, it's like saying you would rather walk than not drive in a brand new Ferrari, or you'd rather spend your life alone if you can't date a gorgeous actor, supermodel, or something that's interesting, that appeals to you. These are dumb decisions. These are really dumb decisions, and people make them all the time. You may have made them. And I mean, you get the idea, but staying in a large law firm is not your only option. Practicing law is a very middle-class profession, and attorneys are very middle-class people. And I say that very respectfully, because I come out of the same background. I'm not being, prejudiced or anything here, but it's kind of funny. I'll talk about in a second, but lots of professions are middle class. Being a doctor is middle class, an engineer is a middle class, a lawyer's middle class, and it's what attorneys are. Middle class essentially means you're working for people that most of the time, most big firms that have more money than you. So you're taking their money and working for them, and as a middle class person, you tend to care what other people think. So you're concerned with how they look to each other and what other people think of them and so forth. And people that are from upper class and lower class backgrounds typically aren't like that. And I'll tell you an example of a funny story. There's a very interesting show I've been watching about Hunter Biden. And again, don't judge me as politically one way or the other. It's on Fox Nation or something, I don't know, but and I just kept seeing ads for it, and someone told me. But I mean, this guy, here he is, he's and this, I would say that that's an upper class political family. Here he is smoking crack, making videos of himself with prostitutes, having multiple girlfriends at the same time, like doing all this insane stuff and seemingly not caring. Well, it's the same thing that your super wealthy rock stars and other people have been doing for generations. And this, I mean, people that are really high up there tend to not care what other people think about them that as much. Now, he obviously cares. I'm not saying he doesn't, but this is kind of what goes on. People that are the lower classes are typically the drug habits of, and again, I'm not being prejudiced here against anyone, but using hard drugs and acting crazy and then going to prison and all these things typically are the lower class kind of things too. So it's not, again, I'm generalizing, but there's people at two sides of the spectrum don't care what other people think about them, and then there's people that care a lot about what people think about them, and those are people like us. Those are law firms. Those are doctors and lawyers. They care what other people think about them because there's a lot of conformity in the middle class, and the middle class is concerned with things like where they went to school, where they work, the prestige of their employer, because they get their identity from other people's approval of them. And again, I'm not judging that one way or another, but I'm just letting you know that that's who we are as a group. And so again, because you're like that, and again, I'm part of the same makeup, and not criticizing it. People are very careful about not wanting to drop down the ladder. They're also very careful to do everything within their power to not be seen as different. So look at, again, above the law, places like that, they write these articles. Oh, so-and-so was spotted doing this, or this law firm, they stepped out of line, and this person did this. And like, that's all it's about. It's basically, and the middle class loves to think, oh, well, thank God we're not in that position, and we didn't say something, or something that we said wasn't taken the wrong way. Like, this is how we think. So and identities of middle class people tend to come from again, part of this group, I'm not criticizing it, but it comes from things like the schools they went to, the neighborhoods they live in, and the people that they work for. And they get security based on saying who they work for, and it's also often controlled by external factors, meaning how they look to others based on their degrees and their schools and all this sort of thing. And again, not all attorneys are like that. I'm not being critical of you, but I'm telling you that this is the game you're signed up for, and this is the game that law firms are playing with each other. Law firms, by the way, I mean, are guilty of this as anyone. Like, they compare their salaries. If one raises their salary, everyone else raises their salary. They're very concerned with their reputation, extremely concerned, and their clients are concerned with their reputation and how they pursue. I mean, this is all external stuff. It's all how we care about what others think of us. We care about how we look to others. And again, I meet people like this. I mean, when you meet middle class people, all they start doing is talking, asking you where you went to school, asking where you work, asking where your kids go to school, asking where you did this, where you work. I mean, they're just trying to put you into boxes. And, so again, you don't need to be part of this. And I'm telling you, the most successful people in the world, now don't think about Hunter Biden, but think of the people that you admire the most. They don't care. Okay, your most successful writers and politicians, maybe Trump, but most politicians, I would say, are guilty of a lot of this. But the most successful people are people that are trailblazers and don't care about what other people think of them. And you should not, and that's what you should aspire to. But what you should do is just think that not practicing law at the most important, at the best firm or the top firm doesn't define you. You define yourself. Okay, and you should think about that. And I think that being an attorney and doing what you've been trained to do is more important than worrying about what other people think of you. That's my opinion. Because why would you give other people's opinions more importance than your own or your career? Second, a lot of attorneys from top law firms expect that the compensation they're receiving in major firms should continue whether or not they end up going, even if it's to a smaller firm. The middle class idea is, and my father said this to me, he said, well, that's great. So you moved to a new firm and you increased your salary by this amount. Now that's what you are entitled to make in the market. So the idea people think, well, if you were making this salary, you should always be making that salary or more, and you should never take less of salary than you're making. No, you were in a lucky position. When you go to a big firm, what you're doing is you're front loading a lot of your compensation. If you don't bring in business and don't succeed, most people don't, you're getting a lot of early compensation in your profession, and you're maybe not learning how to do, there's a cost to that. So I want everyone to understand, go to a big firm, there's a huge cost because you're not going to be taught to get business. You're not going to, some will, but most of the time they won't. You'll have to teach yourself. You're also going to have to leave if you don't have business, and you're also going to have to do a lot of work. And if you go to a smaller firm, you probably will be taught how to get business, and you probably will get a different experience. So there's a cost-benefit analysis to everything, and it's important to understand. So a lot of people think they shouldn't be forced to take a salary cut. They believe that their work and the market was established in their last job. No, it's not. Your worth is what people are willing to pay you. And again, people don't realize, why they're being paid what they are. A lot of times I see people relocating from places like upstate New York, where they're from, to New York City, which is very, from New York City. And the salaries there are about 50%. A lot of them will get there, and attorneys that work in New York City, a lot of them are from different parts of New York, which is like Syracuse, Rochester, Albany, other Buffalo, places like that. So when they get there, a lot of times they believe when they move home, sometimes they'll move home for a family, that they need to make just as much as they were making in New York City. And again, when I say 50, sometimes I would say, I don't know, 50% is about what it is. And so they just think about it. So if you move markets and you're making a lot of money in one market and you move to a smaller market, you can buy a nice house in upstate New York, for example, for less than, well, maybe not now, but probably less than 300,000 or 400,000. Where a similar apartment that's half the size in an okay neighborhood would be a couple million in New York. So again, firms in upstate New York, which I think is a great market. If I was in New York, I would. My sister lives in Rochester, and so does my mom. I think it's a lovely area. These jobs are good. They're good places to work there. They're not the kind of thing that's going to go away in a few years. And most jobs in large law firms pay what they do because of the fact you often have no future there. And it's very difficult for attorneys to stay employed in these large law firms for an extended period. It's just how it works. They're well-oiled institutions, and you make a deal with the devil kind of when you go there. And again, I'm not criticizing the large law firms. They're incredible business institutions, and essentially what they're saying is, come to work here now. He will give you a lot of money while you're young and have a lot to give. We'll give you a brand that you can carry around with you for the rest of your career. You're going to get to work with a well thought out group of people. We're going to push you hard. And when you're done, we're going to ask you to leave and go out in the world on your own. And that's fine. I think large law firms are very good places to work because of the training and the attention to detail and the the quality of people. Like people rise based on the quality of people that they associate with. And so let me just make that point to you because it's very important. If you're spending your time with negative people, with people that aren't doing well and having problems, well, that's who you're going to become. So you should be seeking out in your law firm, your personal life, your the people that are doing the best, because those people will make you better. And that's just how it works. People that succeed do so by associating with better people. Now, in Think and Grow Rich, which I sent you, there's a link, a discussion of what's called a mastermind group. And a mastermind group is something that all most successful people do. They are in groups of 5 people, 10 people, or something, where they get together and they discuss their business and their personal strategies and things, and they come together and they use the power of each other's minds to grow, and that's very important. And that's something that I will be starting. This is not an advertisement, but I'm starting that for attorneys in the near future. We're setting it up right now. If you search for BCG Attorney Search Reverse Recruiting, there's something about that on there. But the idea is that you go and associate with good people if you work in a large law firm, and that association makes you better. It can make you smarter, can change your IQ, can make you better, do better work. And when I say change your IQ, I literally believe that when you associate with smarter people and you pick up how they think, that helps you. And it's just how it is. And does it raise your IQ? Who knows? But it can make you, if you work with very motivated people that do good work, it's going to help you. Now, smaller firms are going to pay less. They don't have the prestige of the big firms, but attorneys are most often able to stay employed there for longer, often their freaking entire careers. And again, many believe if you're thinking about not working in a law firm anymore, that the hours and so forth at any law firm are going to be insane. That's just not true. You need to work hard wherever you go. But law firms demand more work and hours because they're profit machines for the people at the top. And that's just what you need. I mean, the more you work in any law firm, the more money the people at the top make. Why wouldn't they want you to work more? I remember a partner telling me once that I was friends with. I don't know how I made friends with a partner, but it was my first job. And I was only like out there like 6 months. And all of a sudden I found myself going out to clubs and all sorts of things with this partner. But he said, no one's ever going to tell you to slow down. Like it's not in their best interest. Like no partner's ever going to tell you not to work as hard. You have to make that decision yourself. And I thought that was very interesting. So the clients, by the way, the large law firms are generally the largest businesses, and they're willing to spend the money and they're not going to protest massive hours or unnecessary work. They have big legal issues that they need help with. The nice thing about smaller firms is those clients can't afford it. They don't have the money and they have smaller budgets. So they can't overwork things. They have to actually turn down work and not do it. And that's just how, not turn down work, but they actually can't do work that they might normally want to do because the clients won't pay for it. So at a smaller firm, you're doing less work and you're not going to have as many hours. Most of them, some of them you may, but that's what work-life balance is. You want work-life balance? You go to a smaller firm with clients that can't afford to spend a lot of money. That's very simple. It doesn't mean you need to go in-house. It doesn't need to mean you go to work with the government. If you want to continue practicing law and build up a business and have an independence and all these great things in the book of business that goes with, that you can take with you to other places, or you can build up or slim down at your convenience, you want to be able to control your income, then you can go to a smaller firm and do that. And again, smaller firms, you don't have to work as many hours. So if you move to a less prestigious smaller firm, there's often a good chance your hours are going to be less. And again, smaller firms are often small enough that they protect their own. I love looking at the websites of smaller firms. I look at them, this is what I do, but it's enjoyable to me. I look at them and I look at the attorneys there, and then I come back and look at them a year later, and it's often just the same people. Nothing's changed. It's, when I place a candidate there might be 8 people there, and I put someone there and there's 9. I go back a year later, there's still 9, 2 years, 9, just checking up on my candidates. It's fun. But the point is there's more personal relationships, and the people are more cohesive than a larger law firm, and they're sticking together. And it's not an impersonal corporation. It's it's a group of people that are protecting each other and being nice to each other and helping each other. And in smaller markets, attorneys are often going to work more closely with each other to cultivate client relationships. They'll go out and pitch things together. And again, you work at a smaller firm in a smaller market, you're still working as an attorney, you're surviving, and you have access to work and are doing what you're trained to do. And again, this is a pitch to everyone. This is a pitch to go to work. If you don't like your big firm, or you don't like big firms, or you are getting laid off, go to work at a smaller firm. Don't throw your career away by, and again, it's not always throwing your career away, by going in-house, by quitting, by doing something else, and don't care about what other people think. And hopefully just this piece of advice alone will help somebody. And you can write me in years from now and tell me that I saved your career, because this is a huge mistake that tens of thousands, just people are making every day. Now, the next one is attitude towards work. Again, most of the talented attorneys, the ones who do the best academically, often have horrible attitudes towards work. They don't understand that work is what keeps them employed, and that there are tons of people willing to do the work that they do. So big law firms, by the way, just so you understand, because I do this for a living, you would not believe how many applicants they get for some of their positions. So if you're at a big law firm and you have a bad attitude and all this stuff, and that law firm wants to replace you, it's bad, man. Like in New York, for example, like if anytime a law firm has an opening, say a law firm announces an opening to recruiters, they may send the job to, 150 recruiting firms. Each of those recruiting firms is going to go and call every person in New York City that is your same level and class year, and will bring the law firm an incredible number of resumes. Now, they may not send to 150, it might be 50, it might be 100, it might be 10, whatever the number is, but they'll put the job out there, and that law firm will get an incredible number of applications of qualified, meaning 10, 20, 150, whatever, but a lot of them very, very quickly, usually the next day. Not only that, but if a law firm posts its job online on its website, it will also attract a lot of applicants. If it takes a job and posts it on Indeed or Law Crossing or something, same thing. You guys, everyone and girls need to understand that if you have a bad attitude towards your work, these law firms do not have any problem. This is not, if they're paying these huge salaries, they have got people lined up, literally around the block, that are just as qualified, if not more qualified than you to take the job. Now, it doesn't mean they're better than you, but they might not have bad attitudes, but they have got a lot of people. And you don't understand, like if you want to spend your time on gossip sites and saying negative things about your firm and thinking and feeling badly about yourself and being rude to the people giving you work. And people go into these law firms that are 100+ years old all the time and say, oh, it's a horrible place. And no, it's not. It's going to be around probably 150 years after you're gone. This is just how the world is. But if a legal law firm, if a law firm wants to hire someone, they can find people all day. I have law firms. There's a lot of people out there for jobs. Now, the law firms will hire the best person that they can. They're not, and just so you understand, law firms, for example, with recruiters, they don't care for recruiters, they care about the can find information, a lot of things. But if you're someone that's causing problems, you're complaining about your hours, bad attitude, you're seeing gossiping with people, you're spending your time on websites that they don't like, and they're reading, they can replace you very quickly. Again, there's positions, 100+ applicants, probably in the first 24 hours at a lot of major law firms. Law firms have more power than you believe. They are in control. Why do you think that some of them generate billions of dollars a year? You're going to take them on? Come on. So why are law firms so careful about who they hire? I can tell you the first thing that they care about, they do care about your grades, your school and stuff, some of them. They have to show, but I think that's the most important, to tell the difference, because what you Uh, they want people who are going to take work seriously and want to be part of the system. And that work's a gift. Seriously. If you look at the most successful, like the most successful attorneys, partners, and everything, like they're very interested in the work. They think it's fascinating. Like stuff you can imagine. I remember I was working at a law firm, and we went to it was the law firm's no longer around, but it was but anyway, the point, I was working in this law firm, and I was in Washington D.C. They were deregulating and there was the partner that I was with there, and there was whatever, the energy department or something, and we all flew down there for this thing, and there were for the country. Well, the partner that I was with is considered like this national expert and everything, and I remember I was there, and there were all these partners like in the room from other big firms all over the country. It was a huge room in the government somewhere, and kind of, I don't want to, but this yappy guy, kind of, he was a wiry and small, very was following this partner I was with around, and he was but the guy was older, and just asking him this question, what do you think of this, blah 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 blah, blah, and trying to talk to him, and the partner I was with, very patrician, but still answering the questions. And it turned out that the guy that was doing all these questions was this very well-known energy partner from Skadden, but again, he was someone that loved to work and was taking it very serious. Encountered very people, corporate partners. Successful IP partners are very interested in technology and IP. The most successful every practice area, people love the work. They take it seriously, and they care about it. They read. Why do you think I wrote books about? I mean, you have to love this stuff, and you have to be a student of the work, the what you're doing. Because what would you want if you're a client? Would you want someone that was just kind of far removed and didn't care and talk down to you? Would you want someone that was passionate about it? And again, I tell this example every time, almost every webinar, but everybody I ever known that's gotten sick, that's important, will always say, oh, my doctor did this and this and this, and they've got this award, and they're on this committee, and they did this, and they wrote this textbook, and they treated this famous person, and this person was I was talking to someone the other day, and like, my doctor was brought to India to work on the most successful, to work on the birth of the most successful, the richest guy in India, who now, by the way, I think is in the news for running a Ponzi scheme or something. But anyway, the point is that like everyone like brags about their doctor and their doctor's interest and the awards and and all the stuff that they've done. Well, this is what you want people doing with you as an attorney. You want people saying, this person's freaking all over it. Like when I was practicing law, like I had this guy named George Hedges, who was a famous entertainment attorney. And he started giving me work. I don't know why. I don't even think I asked for it. And everybody wanted to get work for him. And as soon as he did that, I'm like, all right, I'm all over entertainment law. Like, so I started, subscribing to Variety magazine, which is like the entertainment magazine, and reading it cover to cover. I started going to events and on my free time and doing everything I could, because I was like, listen, if I'm going to get work from, and I was talking to these people that were on television shows, I couldn't believe it. I even went to the Academy Awards the Academy Awards. I had like a backstage pass and could walk around. I mean, it was amazing. So the point is, like, you get anytime you get some practice area and some work in it, you do everything you freaking can to throw yourself into, because you want to be an expert and you want to look like you take this work seriously. everyone gets the work. Most people just take the work and they think it's a job. It's not a job. And again, you need to be all over whatever people are giving you. If people are giving you work, you need to love it and get on it. And again, most law schools, and I don't say this critically, but I can't believe how much money some professors make in law school. Some of them make $500,000 or more per year, and they teach future attorneys about the law. Most of these attorneys have not practiced law and have spent the majority of their career living off money that their students are borrowing from the government, and it goes right back to them in the form of tuition. Law schools, by the way, make a lot of money. Think about it. You can put 100 people in a lecture hall paying $60,000 a year in tuition, and one professor can teach, it's huge profit centers. Amazing. So that's why people keep trying to start law schools. It's a great business. But anyway, the point is that I'm not going so far to say that these law professors aren't working. What I'm telling you is they figured out how to get access to work. They're not teaching you how to get access to work. They have gotten access to work. And by the way, there's an article I wrote about Yale Law School graduates. I couldn't figure out for the longest time, like these Yale Law School graduates, because they would come out and they're just taking these kind of weird jobs doing policy and everything. And again, there's nothing wrong with doing policy and government and being professors and things. But what they're doing is actually, I kept puzzling. I'm like, what the hell's going on with Yale Law School? Like, why aren't these people like practicing in big firms and taking over the world? And what the hell are they doing? It's like, wow. It's kind of funny. Like Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, like I think they were. This is another example, I guess, not Yale or Harvard of it. Bill Clinton and his wife are an example. But Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, they graduate from law school, they fail the bar, and eventually he becomes she doesn't go to work at a firm right away. She takes the bar. I don't know, but you could read about it. But the point is that then he becomes a law professor. Same thing with Clinton. He becomes a law professor. I think his wife did take a job in a law firm. But the point is that a lot of these Yale Law School graduates and these really high-ranking, Barack Obama was president of Harvard Law Review, amazing, brilliantly, super smart people. Like what they're doing when they take these jobs, and I figured out what these Yale Law School people are doing, is they're setting themselves up to have access to work. They say, well, maybe the law firm route is too difficult to get access to long-term work, and so I'd rather have access to work this way. And law professors are doing the same thing. What better way to have long-term access to work than go to a law school and get tenure and sit there and tell one of my mentors, this guy named Jeffrey O'Connell, University of Virginia Law School. I think he was working there until he was in his late 80s. Wow, So again, a lot of these law professors, by the way, and I say this in jest, but it's true. A lot of them, they're far left, which is okay. Again, I'm not political at all, one way or another, but they believe that a lot of businesses are exploiting workers and we should tax them. But again, they're also the same people that are, taking out, getting paid by you and your government student loans and so forth, which is kind of funny. So, but the point is that work isn't evil. Now, work is what supports you and something you need to have access to at all times. And you should be very interested in your work. You should be interested in your practice area. And if you go into work, if you go into interviews not taking work seriously, you're not going to get hired. If you get a reputation for not taking work incredibly seriously, you're not going to get hired. Clients aren't going to hire you if you don't think you can take work extremely seriously. John Quinn, another one of my idols, and I've got lots of idols, but he used to tell clients, he would meet with them and he'd say, if you hire me, I will eat, drink, and sleep this case. And he meant it. That's what you want. People want to believe that you're going to take things that seriously. You need to fall in love with your work. And if you don't, you're not going to advance. So I speak with law firm partners all the time. I unfortunately don't speak with them as much as I'd like to, because I but I speak with them all the time, ones that are looking for jobs. And law firm partners are typically interested in partners with business, meaning work, or associates who want to make partner and are doing whatever it takes to make partner. There's no middle ground. They don't come to me saying we're interested in people that don't have any business. Now, sometimes if you're exceptional in a practice area, they will, but they want people that want to make partner. They want people with drive that are on fire that clients want. What would you want if you were a law firm? Would you want people that don't care and just want to do the work and gossip, or would you want people like that? People with work and people willing to work hard. And I mean, everything is about the work. It needs to be your number one priority. It's the most important point. It's the only reason you're doing what you're doing. Getting work and doing the work is the only thing you need to understand. And it's extremely important. I mean, you presumably went to law school to work at something involving the law and should want to work. And you shouldn't be having spent years in college to come out and think that there's something wrong with your employer for giving you work, or not be interested in what you're doing and resent the work. I mean, this is what people do. And again, why would you spend all this time and effort and get a job at one of the top firms in the legal profession, the very best firms, and then spend a few years doing this and only never to work again because somewhere along the line you've brainwashed yourself that work is bad, that working in a law firm is bad, that not working at a law firm not as prestigious is bad, that that's a bad life, it's bad for everyone. Again, all over the world, people go to great lengths to get work. And this, by the way, I really want you to understand, because this is what it's all frickin' about. This is the difference between being a winner and a loser, between being successful and not successful, between whatever it is you want to do. People go to incredible lengths to get work. People work on fishing boats in Alaska. Have you ever watched these shows like, Northern Catch or whatever? People risk their lives to get work and make money. They work 100 hours straight and take methamphetamines or whatever to keep working. People go into the desert and drill for oil to get work, and they get injured. In the military, people go in there to work, and they get shot at and paralyzed and hurt, and they risk their lives and sleep in tents. People clean sewers and spend months or years away from their family in the military, or they risk their lives. Some people become firemen for work, and they risk their lives fighting fires. And again, the lengths that people go to work are incredible. I mean, everyone has a job. I have people that professionally come and dig through my garbage every week looking for bottles so they have work. I have people, think about all the jobs that are done out there. I ordered something from Uber Eats a couple of weeks ago, and the guy drove an hour to make $5 delivering something. I mean, wow. I mean, think about how hard people are out there working and what they're doing. Other people do things like that are bad. They decide to sell drugs for work, or they sell their bodies, or but people, like, work is what it's all about. You went to school for decades to become qualified to work as an attorney. You have a huge advantage and something that no one else has. You can be an attorney. You have a license to make money that no one else can have. Again, your relatives probably came to this country so they could have access to work. All over the world, unless you're born to a wealthy or important family, you can't. There's certain jobs you can't do, and you don't have the ability to rise. But your relatives came here so they could work. I have relatives that came over to this country, and again, like, everyone thinks that people came over here, as everyone that's white came over. I have relatives on one side of my family that came over as indentured maids, meaning in order to pay for their trip over here, they had to agree to work for someone for 10 years as a maid and not get paid. Like, this is what people do. So they could later get a job. I mean, come on. Like, people have paid the price in this country way before you to give you access to work. It's amazing. I mean, you should watch these shows like, I don't know, there's 1896 or whatever, these Western shows where people are, or 1923, and they're on Paramount, where people are trying to get access to work and fighting Indians and all this stuff. This is what's happened. So you can come to this country and work and be free and have this. You have a tremendous advantage that no one else in the world has. Attorneys do not make anywhere near as much money. No, they don't. And nowhere else in the world do they make anywhere near as much as they make here, you can make with their law degree. You have an incredible opportunity, a major opportunity. It's why you've worked as hard as you have. It's why your relatives work so hard to get to this country. It's maybe why they even paid to send you to school. It's why everyone is sacrificed. It's why, I was watching the show not too long ago or something, and it was about, I don't know, Meghan Markle and not talking to her dad and how like she decided that, I don't know, that he was not good enough and cut him off or something. Well, that guy paid all of his salary to send her to Northwestern College. Pretty nice, right? That's pretty nice to give her access to opportunities and people and in a different type of groups that she may not have had before. He probably helped her. Now, I'm not saying that she didn't have reasons for cutting him off or whatever, but this is, having access to work and stuff and your parents doing stuff should help you. My dad did something similar with me, when I was in college, and he helped support me. He moved into a smaller apartment so he could pay for things. So people have helped you, and your family has helped you, and you should be proud of the things that they've done for you, and you should take advantage of the opportunities that you have before you, and whatever you're doing, by the way, you need to commit. So most people go to work someplace and they find reasons not to like the employer. Oh, they won't pay for my parking. Oh, I got a bad review. Oh, their bonus was lower than other firms and they decide they're going to leave. Well, people do this, or, someone criticized me, or, I don't like the way things are going with management, and they leave. Well, if you start hopping from firm to firm and you start doing something like that, law firms are going to think you're going to do the same thing with them. And if you had a lot of jobs within a few years, law firms are known pretty good that you're going to leave. I see people with resumes that have a new firm on their resume every 1 or 2 years, and it's been going on for 5 years. I think that's insane. I think any law firm that hires someone like that's insane. You'd have to be out of your mind, but people do. I mean, why is it out of your mind? Because what happens is those attorneys, it's just a pattern. Like they go to a new employer, they come in and they blow people away in the interview, and they somehow get the job and talk their way into it. They get there and then they get criticized or something, and then they decide that they're going to disengage and not work as hard, and they're mad, and they stick around being mad for a while, and then they start looking for a job, and then it's just the whole thing, and then they don't do all the work they're supposed to, and they start dropping the ball and missing. I mean, this pattern is old as the hills, and it's been going on for a long time, and it's not going to stop. But you need to commit to whatever you're doing. And again, I believe personally in staying employed in one place for an extended length of time. Because if you can stay employed in one place for an extended length of time, it shows so many things. It shows that you have an ability to commit. It shows the ability to avoid negative news and to stay on the side of the positive and to support the firm. It shows your ability to get along with others, and it shows that your work's being well received and you can get along well with others. So someone that has been at a firm, by the way, for 10 years, you could put them in the most toxic firm imaginable, and they'd probably be that firm 10 years too, because they just know how to get along in different environments. It's the people that aren't able to commit and don't have a strong character and things that typically have problems. Now, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with some firms and you don't have to leave, but for the most part, if someone joins one firm and they stay there for a long time, they'll do the same thing with the next. Okay, so this is I believe, one of the final points here. And a lot of people wait for things to happen instead of doing something about it. So from the time I was 18 years old until I was around 27, I was an asphalt contractor during the summer in Detroit. And when I started doing this, I did what everyone else did. I was in the suburbs of Detroit mainly, but I kept all my equipment and lived in Detroit. But anyways, from the time I started doing this, I did what everyone else did. I put ads in the newspaper advertising my service, and then I also dropped off flyers in mailboxes. This is a very difficult way to get work. What you do is you essentially would sit there and you would wait for someone to call you. Then when they would call you, you'd go out and you'd give an estimate, and you'd hope your estimate was good enough, and that someone would call you back. This is, and most of the time it didn't work. It was a horrible way, but which is, by the way, how every asphalt company in was operating. They're all still, most of them, operating. I thought this was really dumb. I wanted to work, and I became sick of this. So pretty soon, what I did is I just purchased a bunch of materials, and I would go door to door with my materials and be like, hey, I'm here. I do not want to spend time giving you an estimate. If you hire me and do the work right now, I'll do it at a lower price than you would get if you did an estimate. And this is the story. And guess what? Everyone said yes. Almost everyone, because the price was right. The driveway obviously needed work. And this is what I did. And no one had ever seen anything like that before. It worked. Now, I started realizing that it would be better if I dressed up, and I did, and put on a nice shirt and like a long sleeve shirt and really nice pants, and did this in person and said I was going to be there the next day. I figured out that would make it better. But by the time I was like 19 years old, I was making thousands of dollars a day. I wouldn't leave my house. This is this is a long time ago. So I wouldn't leave my house unless I was going to make $5,000 each day. So again, I'm a kid, okay, but I'm just telling you, this is the way thinking about finding work and going after work works. So someone not leaving their house, that would be like not leaving your house if you're going to make $10,000 a day today. I was doing very well. Now, am I bragging, saying I'm special? No, I was doing blue collar, gritty work in an industrial Rust Belt dying city, and I was able to find work. I had so much work that one time when I was clerking for my federal judge, I went out one weekend and I made I don't know what it was, like $25,000 or something, which was more than I would make in an entire year working for the judge. So I'm just telling you, there's and whatever it was the payments. I don't know, but it wasn't quite more, but I think my payment was, it was close to what I was making. It was a little more than that, but it was a lot. And this is in a 2-day weekend. I came a Saturday and a Sunday. So the point is that I wanted to work, and that was doing a different type of work. It was like parking lot hot tar or something, but I wanted to work, and I wasn't willing to wait for work to come to me. I went out and sold door to door and did the best I could to find work and make it come to me. Again, every other asphalt contractor in Michigan and was doing the exact opposite. Go out and give an estimate and hope that things come to you. Now, I want you to really listen to this message, okay? Look at what that did for my life and career. Things took off. I moved to LA, bought a house. It's just all this stuff happened because of that. And it changed my life. And it's just about the ability to find work. Think about that. How important is finding work? It's easy. Like if I could do that and make the equivalent of $10,000 a day when I was young, just by finding work in an industrial dying Rust Belt city, what can you do with your career in a law degree? Come on. So when I started practicing law, I would see the same thing. I would see young attorneys sitting on their behinds waiting for work. And they would do the same thing. They just sit around in their office. I would even see partners doing this, playing solitaire, like on their computer because there's no work, instead of calling around looking for work, instead of writing articles that would help drive traffic to the law firm website, or instead of becoming an expert, instead of going out there and meeting people, partners sitting there playing solitaire. I was on a floor of this law firm I was at, Dewey Valentine, had absorbed hired all these kind of partners from, because they wanted to open office in LA. So they'd hired all these partners from all these firms that were kind of disaffected. And then they realized that none of these people had any work. So when I was there, I couldn't believe it. I was on they were on 3 or 4 floors of a skyscraper. And I started there, and then, within 6 months, like half my floor had been fired, like all these partners. I'm like, this is freaking horrifying. Like you're young, you don't know what's going on. Well, they were letting them go because these are people that were hired from other firms who were unhappy. They didn't have work. They tried to make it look like they had work. and didn't know how to get work. These people would literally sit around playing solitaire, gossiping. These are partners. So some 20 years ago, when I was clerking for a federal judge in Detroit, I watched several of my co-clerks working, and clerks meaning there were, uh, my co-clerk, but clerks in different departments and different judges and stuff, and looking to struggling to find work. And a lot of people struggle to find work. But anyway, so the point is, I'm from Detroit. I thought working in Detroit would be great. I love Detroit. A lot of people don't. I loved it back then, and where I was burned out, and it was just kind of a fun area to work in and live in. And I wanted to work where I was from. I had connections there and relationships, and I was familiar with the area, but it was very depressing. After spending some time clerking for the judge, I couldn't believe that so many people were having such a hard time finding jobs. One guy I knew that was clerking in another courthouse, but he went to the University of Michigan for law school. Was a good student, and he couldn't find a job, so he went to work as a clerk in a Social Security office after a clerkship. And again, if you're a clerk right now, this is the stuff that some clerks do. And I knew a girl that got, it took her 4 or 5 months to get a job after a clerkship. A couple never got jobs with law firms at all. They got jobs with companies and doing things, but never with law firms. And one of the reasons was, it wasn't because there was anything wrong with any of these people. They were good students, but they wanted to work in the largest law firms in Detroit, of which there's very few. At the time, there were only like 5 that paid kind of market rates, like the high market rates. And the firms didn't have any work, so they couldn't hire them. And think about Detroit. I mean, you've got University of Michigan, you've got University of Chicago, you've got Northwestern, you've got all these great law schools around it, plus great law schools in Detroit, which are like University of Detroit and Wayne State, and they always take people from there because they're local schools. So the point is that I wasn't going to sit around and become a victim of this nonsense. I as much as I would have liked to work there, this is freaking a nightmare. Like no one's able to get jobs. And I was like, I got to get the heck out of here. I was looking for work. This is what you should be doing as well. You need to find work. This is incredibly important. And you don't sit around becoming a lemming and letting your career fail if you see the signs around you. So I sent my resume to every law firm I could find in Los Angeles and New York. And I remember people in my office where I was working, and I'm not going to name names. It wasn't but making fun of me, saying, "What are you doing? Like, why would you, say?" And anyway, but the point is that I sent my resume to everyone I could possibly find, and that I thought I would work at. And this is what I recommend everyone do that's looking for a job, because it worked, and this is what I did. And I got lots of jobs within a few weeks. Now, I had a firm that I worked for as a summer associate, could have gone back there, but I wanted to make sure I gave myself options. And I'd never even been to California. So the first time I got into California, I thought I was like traveling to Europe. Like, I didn't even know. I went, I made sure I had extra batteries for my Walkman and or my CD player. And I was very excited about this, frankly, international trip, which is a young person thinks has never been there. Anyway, so I landed in Los Angeles. I got 2 offers within 24 hours of landing. I felt like a rock star. I couldn't believe it. Like I'd never even knew this was possible. I walked into some of these firms and just very nice. They're taking you out to lunch and stuff, which I guess they'd done with me before. I had so many interviews that I wasn't even going back in callbacks. Now, I want to be clear, this wasn't because there was something special on my resume. The market was actually doing very well in California and Los Angeles at the time, and there was a shortage of litigators. So I just picked the right area. If I'd done the same thing in Detroit, it would have been a freaking nightmare. I would have had to send my resume, wait a couple of weeks and hope I got a call, follow up. All this stuff, by the way, when you're having to do that, like that's just a sign you're not applying to a lot enough places, or you're not applying in the right market. If you're trying to work in big firms in New York City and you don't have the background, or you're trying to work in big firms in San Francisco, this is what you're going to get, crickets. But in my case, I applied to a market that had a lot of openings and needed people, and there was a lot of litigation going on then. And I literally had to not go on callbacks because I was getting offers in first interviews. I couldn't believe it. I went into some firms and they were like, yeah, here's an offer. And not only that, we're going to give you this stipend when you study and take the bar. And not only that, we're going to give you a clerkship bonus. And not only that, I mean, it's just, we're going to pay for your moving. And not only that, I mean, it's just, I couldn't believe it. And so, all this stuff, I got more than, one firm, I mean, I got multiple offers. It was very easy. And, literally in interviews, and, more than 50%. And had I stayed in Detroit, which is a very depressed market, the market would have been much less welcoming. Like, this is what you need to do. You need to find work. You need to go where work is. If you're in a market and there's no work, it's not your fault. It's just the market. LA had the work. So that's great. You need to go where there's work. Again, I wasn't willing to stick around in a slow market and where nothing was going around. Again, I'm keeping in mind, I'm clerking for a federal judge in Michigan. At the time, there were maybe 12 federal judges or something. Maybe it's 15, I don't know, but not a lot. Very prestigious job. Not all those people want to work in Detroit or Michigan, but still, bad market. And I was proactive and unwilling to wait. So if you want to work, you can't sit around and wait for stuff to happen to you. You need to be proactive. You need to look at every single location possible, and you need to do whatever it takes to get and stay employed. This is the name of the game. You need to do whatever it takes to stay employed. You need to have access to work. If you're not getting a job in your market, it's not your fault. You're in the wrong market or you're applying to the wrong firms. It's all there is to it. It's what it's all about. I find it shocking, personally, that people with skills and motivation to get a job at a major firm and spend years there, just blow their careers up when the work dries up. You need to be able to get out there and do everything to get work, wherever it might take you. And if you want to be an attorney, you just need access to work. It's what the game's about. All right, let's see a couple more things here. The more work you get, the better is another one. That's good. It's not a right. It's a privilege. And so again, you just because you're willing to work doesn't mean that you need to, that work should come to you. After World War II, for several decades, the American economy was expanding. There was far more jobs than there were workers. I mean, it's just the U.S. was isolated, and I'm sorry to give you a history lesson, but it is relevant to your situation. All the other countries in Europe and everything were rebuilding. Everyone suddenly came back to the U.S., soldiers and everything, and there were many more jobs than there were workers. The U.S. was exporting all the stuff it was manufacturing all over the world because the other whether it was Japan or Europe, were all rebuilding. So there was just a lot of work, and at that point in time, at that type of time, and for decades, including really for a long time until Japan and Europe and other places are rebuilding. I mean, attorneys were kind of at the point where they had the upper hand. You could demand better pay, working conditions, and expect your jobs to always be there. But honestly, this is not the case anymore. It is the case during economic booms and things like we had, after COVID and money pouring into firms and things. But no, it's not there anymore. And again, law school and your professors may have grown up with these sorts of beliefs that you could do this, that they haven't worked in law firms. Your parents may have that about access, but that's just no longer the way things are. And work is very good. It's what supports you. It's what keeps your career going, provides you with a professional identity. It supports your family. And if you're good at what you do, the work also helps other people and businesses, meaning you can actually, help people having access to work. I'm making this today. This is creating work. No one told me to create a webinar or about about work, but this is an example of talking about this topic, and this is helping people. So again, I'm helping other people. I'm helping businesses get better employees and law firms get better employees. I'm helping you hopefully be a better employee and take control of your career and get business and help businesses. So if you're good at what you do, the work will also help other people and other businesses. The other thing is a lot of people, and this is the final point, but I believe also probably the most important one you can hear, is a lot of people don't know what to do to keep access to work. And there's a lot of ways to keep access to work. Wherever you're working, you need to keep the gravy train rolling. You need to make sure that you get as much work as you possibly can and that the work does not dry up. This is hugely important. You should be networking with partners, people outside your firm, and creating work and getting all the business you possibly can. Incredibly important. You need to be able to do this. You need to be able to generate work and create work. And if there's not work at your current firm for an extended period of time, and you don't have the ability to bring in work, you need to move. There's no question about it. I do not run these webinars to tell people to look for jobs, because if anything, I tell you the exact opposite. But if your firm is not having any work for an extended period of time, there's something wrong there. That means their billing rates are too high. They've got the wrong partners. They've hired laterally to the wrong people. I don't know, but they're in the wrong business. Maybe you're in the wrong market, but you need to do something about it. You need to move, and you need to move either to a different firm in your city that has the work, or you need to pick up and move geographically and move to a smaller firm wherever there is work. There's this kind of cycle of creative destruction and things that happen. And what tends to happen is you have brand new firms are started by people that are kind of entrepreneurial and they do things a different way, and that attracts work. Clients like it. Maybe they bill in different ways, or they take a percentage of the case, or who knows. But there's certain people that are able to bring in and get a lot of work, and other people are not able to bring in and get a lot of work. If they can't get a lot of work, then maybe the firm is too bureaucratic and has a bunch of people sitting around talking about their degrees. Who knows, and not bringing in work. But if your firm is not bringing in work, that's a huge problem. And you need to do whatever you can to move where there is work. I got out of Detroit. That's what I did. That was my solution. And it was a good decision because there was no work where I was at. You may need to get out of Wisconsin. You may need to I don't think getting out of New York is probably the solution, but because there's always work there. But I mean, whatever type of work you're doing, you may find another place that has it. Some people move overseas. I've placed people in practice areas where there was no work in the United States, some international arbitration or different things where there's no work in the US. So you can move overseas, bankruptcy, whatever situation you need to move and get access to work. And don't underestimate the seriousness of having a lack of work at your current firm, because there can certainly be fluctuations in workloads, and these are all perfectly normal. But a long-term drought can be a disaster, and it can claim your job. It can make you look, as I talked about in the beginning, like someone that doesn't know how to get work, and that loses their job and has a hard time getting employed. And then the third thing, and I believe this is very important. I should have put it in the chat because I did run a webinar about how to find a job, because you don't need me to find a job. I mean, I can do it for you, but you should know how to find a job on your own. And again, I'm not here to sell you on BCG or anything, but you need to know how to find a job. And the webinar I ran about finding a job is one of these kind of longish webinars that it's in the, if you look on the BCG site, but it talks about all these different things you can do. You should be researching firms and applying to different places and lists and rankings, and there's so much you can do. But a lot of people have a hard time finding a job. So when it comes to representing other people, they can talk about the law all day and other things, but when it comes to representing themselves, they just fall on their rears. And again, having an advocate on your behalf, like a recruiter, of course, is very helpful because they know how to find you a job. But if you don't use a recruiter and you want to do it yourself, you can do it. But it means contacting really every single employer you could possibly get a position with. That's it. And contacting them and seeing if they have a need, contacting the right people, putting together persuasive application materials that have that are focused on that employer. And it doesn't mean just contacting the 4 or 5 people that the legal recruiter gives you, or going to a public job site. It means contacting or just contacting the major employers in a given city. So I want to just tell you, I want to make sure I if you are smart enough to be paying attention right now, which if you're on this webinar, you are, but I'm going to give you some very extremely important advice right now. If you use a legal recruiter to find a job, now BCG, by the way, is not a legal recruiting firm. We're like a 200-person technology firm that does nothing but look for jobs and matches people using machine learning, AI. I mean, there's so much going on, but a legal recruiter is something that I have a lot of experience doing. So obviously I am a legal recruiter, so I can give you advice, but the average legal recruiter is only going to tell you about jobs, or only going to tell you about the jobs that firms that they have relationships with, and not only that, but they'll probably ghost you if the market's not good, or they'll ghost you if they can't get you a job if they submitted you a few places and nothing's happened, and because it's a lot of work, and they'll take their attention and put it on the highest value candidates that they think the market's good for, and if you're not getting any traction, they may drop you. I mean, it's nothing wrong with this. It's a sales business. It's not, and I'm not being critical of legal recruiters, but this is what they do, and this is what they have to do to survive. So don't blame them for that. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not necessarily the most effective way for you to get a job. Our company, for example, has 25 years of data. We've invested, I was doing the calculation the other day. It's over 100 million, but it might even be 200. I mean, of investment in our database and information, and then how we manipulate and match that information. So we're not a recruiting firm. We're just something completely different. But a recruiter doesn't have those tools, and so because and most people don't, and I don't, and it's not a criticism of recruiters, because they do serve a very valuable purpose. But you can't trust your career to one recruiter or even two. You have to take action if you're looking for a job. So a lot of people will go and say, oh, I talked to a recruiter, so they're looking for me. No, that recruiter is looking for you to the extent that they think you're a good candidate and they can place you easily, and they will turn their attention to you according to their desire and effort. A lot of times recruiters are attorneys that didn't like the workload of law firms or whatever, and wanted an easier career that they can do part-time. I mean, you have to understand that your career is not something to mess around with. And again, I'm not being critical of recruiters, but this is just how it works. Job sites are another problem. Job sites, again, I run job sites, so I'm not, I have recruiters working for me. So I'm being critical of what a recruiting firm is, but I'm just trying to be honest with you. I have no agenda here. Okay, I run job sites. I run Law Crossing, which is in terms, at least the last I checked, more traffic than any other legal jobs. It certainly doesn't have more traffic than Indeed. I mean, are you kidding? But it's got a lot of traffic for a job site. Job sites. So job sites, now Law Crossing is actually a different kind of job site, but it's a consolidator. So it does have every legal job you can find. But the point is that job sites are jobs that employers are paying to advertise. Not Law Crossing isn't, it's a consolidator, it's different. But it has every job that we can find regardless of what the employer is paying. But the point is that job sites are, all they're doing is jobs that employers are paying to post. So when they get them, they blast the job out to every single ZipRecruiter, Indeed. They blast the job out to every single person they can freaking find that's signed up to their site, and to drive as many applications to the job as they can. That's how they get paid. So unless you're the best applicant, or generally the first applicant on a public job site, you're going to have a very hard time getting a job. I post jobs in public job sites all the time. I posted one for a COO recently, and I got, I don't know, 500 or 600 applicants. I was like, shoo, I'm not even going to look at them. Like I don't have the time. I might have tried. It's like if there were 3 or 4, I might have. But I was like, well, this is going to take freaking 2 days. Like I'm not going to click 500 or 600 resumes. I mean, and this is what happens. So this is what employers see when you apply on public job sites, or other people. This is the classic. They'll decide that because they're at a big prestigious firm, they're going to look for a job, and they're not going to use a recruiter, or they're going to just do all this on their own. So they decide to contact all the major employers in a city on their own. Well, that's pretty dumb too, because if you're a corporate attorney and corporate's slow and you're just contacting the major employers in a given city, that's a problem. And by the way, this is just a kind of an aside. most big law firms expect you to not use a recruiter. I mean, most people that they hire do come through them because they assume that the recruiters that you're anyway. But you can certainly apply to them on your own. I don't care. There's no skin in the game. Really, you don't. But the point is that if you're applying to only major law firms, you're definitely selling yourself short. And what you really need to do is you need to contact everyone you possibly could. If you were to investigate a market, like say you're a litigator or a corporate attorney, and you think that there's only 20 firms in Minneapolis that are worth applying, if you really dig beneath the surface and you start looking for really good boutiques and firms that other people aren't paying attention to, and you see who their clients are and stuff, that number 20 probably turns into 50. I'm just saying, then smaller firms that have big clients. I mean, people don't look beneath the surface. They only look at what's in front of them. If you apply to jobs on public job sites, you're going to put your stuff in there with hundreds of other people. If you apply through a recruiter, you're going to limit the number of applications. Now, BCG is different. We don't, again, I'm not promoting BCG, but if you work with BCG, I will send you literally hundreds of opportunities and continue to do that because that's what it takes. And I know what it takes because, again, I've been doing this my entire career, and I actually care about what I'm doing. This is not a hobby or something I'm doing because probably stressful, or this is what happens when you invest hundreds of millions of dollars in a database and stuff. You do it differently, but you need to contact everyone. And again, I'm telling you how to do it yourself. You don't have to use me. I'm just telling you how to do it yourself. When I contacted firms in Los Angeles and New York, when I was clerking, I sent a law firm to every law firm I could find that I thought I would work at. I didn't say, oh, my goodness, I see that not all these attorneys went to top 10 law schools. I'm not going to apply there. Or, oh, boy, like I would never work at this firm. Look, it says they do this. I applied to firms, any place that I thought I could possibly work at, I applied. And this is what it takes. No one's above this. Just because I was working for a federal judge and gone to a good law firm and was a law review and all these honors and went to a great college and did well. I mean, doesn't mean I didn't have to market myself. Who cares? If anything, that was holding me back because it made me think I was like entitled to something. So you don't like, just because you have good qualifications doesn't mean that the world owes you something. Like, no, the world doesn't owe you anything. Like, you have to go out there and chase what you want. So years ago, I started a site called Law Crossing, which researched every job out there. This is one way to find a job. It just checks every law firm website and company is looking for legal jobs. It's post jobs that aren't advertised. So the jobs on there we find are from law firm websites or from government and public interest. That's one way to find a job. And a lot of people say this is a classic thing. I would never pay to look for a job. I think it costs to sign up on Law Crossing $1.25 a week or something. I don't know what it is, but people are afraid of that. And I mean, I think after a month or two, it might be 25 or something. But again, if you're unemployed, you need to look for jobs in every way possible. You don't have to use my company. You don't have to use any of my companies, but you need to figure out a way to find jobs. That means you need to go research all law firm websites, and you need to look at other places. You need to apply to firms even if they don't have openings. Law Crossing also has another cool feature, which I'll tell you about, which I'm so busy, I haven't had the time to really integrate it properly on the site, but there's archive jobs. What archive jobs are you can look up jobs in your practice area. Like say you're an ERISA attorney in Boston, and you go on Law Crossing or you go talk to a recruiter, and there's only 3 openings for ERISA attorneys in Boston. Well, you can go and look at all the firms that have ever had ERISA openings in Boston and apply to those. And that might be 60 firms. This is the kind of stuff we do at BCG for our candidates, because just because someone doesn't have an opening now doesn't mean they're not going to look at someone if they've had openings in the past, because that shows you that there's enough activity out there that they've gone to the market and tried to find people. So these are ideas I'm giving you that just tell you how to do that. Sign up for Law Crossing for $1, whatever the hell it is, and try that. I mean, there's all sorts of ways you can do things you can do. And again, recruiters are helpful. There are some very, very good recruiters, but again, they're salespeople, they're selling their time. They do have very good contacts, a lot of them. So again, I'm not saying you have to use BCG. We have a lot of very good recruiters that have worked on our firm before, and are no longer with us. You can probably find them by searching. They're trained in a lot of the things that I say. I would recommend almost every one of them. They're not, because our company is so technologically advanced, they don't always. It's impossible for most people to understand even what we do anymore, because there's so much technology behind the scenes. So recruiters are more relationship based than technology based. We're technologists now, not necessarily recruiters, but a good recruiter can transform your career. Our recruiters do that all the time and have done that, and ones that aren't here anymore have done it. And a well-respected recruiter gets a law firm's attention, and the recruiter knows how to bring out your strengths and weaknesses and desire to work. And there's certain things that you need to say in interviews and not say, and ways to position your resume. One thing I tell all my candidates, I'm going to tell you right now: law firms hire specialists. So you need to remove your resume needs to look like you do one thing and concentrate on that. That's something that good recruiters will help you do. Other things that good recruiters will help you do is they write cover letters that talk about your experience. They make it look like you're stable. They explain the reasons for your moves. They make them look like they're intelligent, like they're well thought out. They make you look like you're improving and moving up in your career. And so recruiters can make a tremendous difference if they know what they're doing. Unfortunately, most of them don't do that. They send an email with your resume, or don't write a letter. They don't ask you questions. If you go to BCG, you'll see we ask you a lot of questions and try to draw that information so you can make a personal connection with a firm. But good recruiters do have personal connections. They have personal connections with people inside the firms. They can humanize you, and they're friends with people inside the firms or professionally, and they will help them, and that's nice. So a good recruiter can also coach you through the interview process and tell you what you need to do. I wish I could coach every candidate that we have, but we have a lot of videos about interviewing on BCG that you should watch, and those are very important. I've had more candidates than I can count at interviews with me that had no success on their own, but I submitted them to the same firms they applied to and got rejected, and gotten positions after I coached them and so forth. So this has been a long webinar, but it was important. And I hope you got a lot out of it. The most important thing, though, is that once you start practicing law, the worst thing you can do is stop practicing law for any extended period. It could mean the game is over and the game really doesn't end. Law firms do not like hiring people that are unemployed. It's just how it is. Again, I don't like it any more than you do. I told you the reasons that they don't like that. And I also told you that you need to have access to work constantly to survive in the legal profession. And regardless of what it takes, you need to have access to work. It's really the most important thing. You need to find work, whatever it takes. So that is the webinar. I'm going to take a quick break just for like a minute or two. And then when I come back, I will answer questions as long as you have questions, because I want to help you with any questions that you have. But I'll answer any questions that people have asked during this webinar. Just a couple pointers about questions. All questions are confidential. So if your name is displayed in the Zoom, I won't show your name. And you can ask questions about anything. It doesn't have to be about this webinar. I certainly appreciate the time it's taken everyone to listen to this. I hope it's helped you. There'll also be a replay of this webinar posted within the next week or so, or hopefully by Monday, on the BCG site. And then also last week's webinar, which I think was about what happens if you're laid off, or what was it? Or I don't know, it was something about that. But that's also been posted as well. So I will be back in 1 second, and I appreciate everyone being on the webinar today and so far, and I'm excited to hear your questions. And again, answer any questions that you have that I can help you. Any question, even if you're nervous to ask it, it could literally, if it's something I have experience with and I've seen, can change, really help you on your journey. So thanks. And take questions. One thing I wanted to let everyone know is we figured out how to unblock the chat. So anybody that wants to chat during these webinars with each other is welcome to. I'm not going to be looking at it, but you can certainly, if it helps you, attack me or whatever during the chat or to each other. But it's or share questions and other things. I would just or that you have for each other. I would just request respectfully that if people are, I know that sometimes other recruiters and things get on these, and that you not try to sell other services. I just that's all I would request, or sell your services on there. But other than that, chat is open, and so you guys can. And I apologize. I'm not a real, even though I talk about technology, this is one piece of things that I've never really worked on, and we're just kind of here in a little studio by our office, or next to our office, my office, and never spent a lot of time setting all this Zoom stuff up. So, but anyway, chat's live. Next week, I may try to take live questions as well, where you can talk about them. But okay, so let's see this. First question. So I am a recent law school graduate who lost my associate job at a small firm after, oh, and I did put in the, let me just show here. I don't know. I think Jared is, well, I will, I don't know if I put this in the chat, if you guys have this, but I did want to show you a couple of links here, just here real quick. Might have been in the, this is on, these are just some about URLs that I was trying to share with you guys earlier. And I don't know if I put it in, it's in the chat or not. Let me just see here. But I'll put this here for you. These are just articles. And then the other one is the Think and Grow Rich that I brought up earlier. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Let me just see here. All right, so second, sorry. Okay, I'm a recent law school graduate who lost my associate job at a small law firm after 4 months. There wasn't a ton of work available, but I also made mistakes. Now I feel like I am permanently damaged goods. What should I do in my situation? And how bad is it going to be for getting a new job? Okay, so the first thing I want to say to all new associates and all new attorneys and anybody that's making mistakes on their job is, of course, you make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes at a new job. And especially you don't know anything about practicing law. You should not be expected not to make mistakes. And if you were making mistakes, it's the law firm's responsibility to catch those mistakes before you make them. So it's not your problem. And again, you made mistakes and you should learn from them, but you also made mistakes when you were a child doing bad things and were corrected, and now you're an adult and doing well. You also made mistakes when you were in school and were corrected, and now you learned. And I mean, this is ridiculous. So of course you make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Do not feel badly about making mistakes. Now, if you make mistakes that are dishonest, meaning you did something that shows bad character, then that's your problem. And but if you've made mistakes because instructions weren't clear, because you were just careless, you have to learn as an attorney to be detail oriented and all these sorts of things. And if you, once you get through this, you're fine. So you're not permanently damaged goods. 4 months is not a lot of time. If there wasn't a lot of work available, then that's the firm's problem and not yours. And they may have hired you at a time when there was a lot more work than there is now. And I can tell everyone on the call that a year ago at this time, or whenever you were hired, there was a lot more work going around than there is now. And law firms were hiring people when because they had a lot more work, but there's not as much work. There's not as much work right now. So you should not feel badly about any of this. What I would suggest is you are not permanently damaged goods, but you need to get out there and aggressively look for a job. Law firms will hire you. There are people out there that have a lot of work that are desperate for work. And most of the time when something like this happens, it's actually a blessing that you have the ability to find something new or go to a place that has more work or that might be a better fit. And after what you learned in this webinar today, I think you're going to be a much better attorney. I think everyone that's on this webinar is probably going to I think if you're still listening, which I commend you. I mean, I know it's a long time to listen to someone talk about the legal market, but it applies to you. If you're still listening, you guys are and girls are really much farther ahead if you're a young attorney than any of your colleagues. It's impossible for you not to be. So I would not worry about it. I think, but you need to look far and wide to find a position, and you need to be very aggressive about it, and you need to get out there and find something. Okay. Okay, so getting blackballed, no, you're not going to get blackballed. So no one's going to blackball you for making mistakes and at your last job. And attorneys are extremely negative and hostile. When people are extremely negative and hostile, generally, the reason for that is because they're afraid. And people are not negative and hostile unless others are not nice to them or they're afraid of something. So that means they're negative and hostile probably because they don't have a lot of work and they're not doing as well as they want to. So I don't think that there's anything for you to worry about. Attorneys, especially new ones, are green. It takes, as I've told you as I talk to you guys every week, it's generally 3 to 5+ years to even know what you're doing in the legal profession. So if you are not doing well when you start, that's not a problem. I mean, you're having, everyone goes through a learning curve, and that's what you're doing. So again, I wouldn't worry about it. And no, if they say something bad about you, I mean, whatever. I mean, you worked a few months at a firm and you made some mistakes. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to be a bad attorney. And again, your career, you're on, let's go here. You're on year one. You're on month two, or month 4 of a what is it? So if you work for 50 years, that's 600 months. Or 50 years, that'd be 600 months. 50 times 12, yeah, 600 months plus career. And really, you think that's going to be the end of it? I mean, that's insane. So no, but your mistakes in month 4 of a 600-month career, unless you've done something that where you're going to go to prison or something, I don't think you're disbarred. I don't think you're going to have any problems. I had an interesting experience. I was talking to my daughter last night, and she was in this. What was she? She was in dance, like this kind of local dance company, and when she was younger, and the teacher didn't like her, and so she practiced all year, and then not only did the teacher not like her, but I don't think she was doing as well as she could. She wasn't enthusiastic. She didn't understand how it works and everything. And but anyway, so she was in this dance thing, and she practiced all year, and then on the final, and then she was injured or something. I don't know. But anyway, so then the final thing where they rent out this giant auditorium at Pepperdine University, and all the parents come from all over that have had their kids in this dance thing to this final competition. She was supposed to be in 4 dances, and instead, at the last minute or the week before, some teacher only put her in 1, and then not even a good role in it, and she was crushed. Imagine, and I'll come back to that in a minute, but just crushed. And then she also went to this other school, she went to a school. She'd gone to the same school since kindergarten, and then her mother was living on the other side of town. She decided to go we decided to send her to another school. It was closer to the house, and she went there. And when she went there, the teachers were saying something like, "Oh, you're never going to get into college. You're a bad student. Like, how did you go to this other school?" And anyway, so she was there for a year. Well, let me make a long story short. So now she's at the same school that she was at originally, which is a great school in Calabasas. She's getting all A's. She's she's done all this stuff and getting all these awards and in AP classes as a sophomore, and I mean doing very, very well, and just really doing well. And not only that, but she's going to be captain, I think, of the dance team, which is a very competitive dance team. And so the idea is you come back from setbacks, and everyone should come back from setbacks, and you come back even stronger than you were before, and you learn from it. They make you better. So in her case, she probably realized everything she was doing wrong in the dance thing and fixed it. And same thing academically, and came back and fixed it. So these are all learning experiences. Anything that bad that happens to you is a good experience. It's something that you learn from that can make you better in the long run. So just because you have a bad few months, you learn from those lessons and come back stronger. And I think it's something to really think about. Okay, so this next one is what aspects of the legal profession make it so ruthless? Well, I mean, I could answer this all day, but the biggest thing is, I would say, is lawyers are not nice to each other. Often in their own firms and externally. It can be isolating, sitting in an office, working all day. I mean, this isolating hours, business pressure, working in good versus bad firms, prestige. I mean, this prestige. There's a bunch of different things. One of the examples I like to give is of a lawyer, for example, working in litigation. So if you work in litigation, your bosses are the court, your client, other attorneys in your firm, and then the opposing counsel. So you have four people that are essentially, you have the opposing counsels against you, the court. I mean, it's very difficult because you have to please a lot of people, and that's stressful. That's a lot of pressure for anyone to handle. Litigation, by the way, I have a profound respect for litigators, but it's very, very difficult for attorneys, when they don't have any work. And those are some of the things that make it stressful. I mean, how stressful is it trying to get a job as when you're in law school, or all this stuff is stressful. Worrying about if you're going to make partner, worrying about your reviews. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it's a lot of work. What creative strategies can you use to find more work and who has limited assignments? So the creative strategies, it depends on your level. But one of the things you do is you look hungry for work. So you go around and you ask for work. You then, if people say I don't have any work, then you say something like, well, are there any memos that would be helpful for your clients that I can do on my since there's no work to do? And you ask them that, and sometimes they'll like that. So one of the things that a lot of law firms will do with summer associates is they will give them kind of busy work. They'll say, oh, go write a memo about consumer lending laws in 50 states or something. I mean, who knows? But they'll just, they'll give them work that could actually help the clients. So you ask partners that are powerful and have a lot of work. I know you don't have any work, but are there any assignments I can do that are not billable that would help your clients that I can do for you? You get on the side of people. And again, these little pieces of advice, by the way, each one of these, I mean, could save your career, can prevent you from getting laid off. You get in the and you listen to this stuff. I mean, if you get on the side of a really good partner that has a lot of business, and you say, is there any assignments I can do for you just that aren't billable to help your clients? And then you do the best job you possibly can. That will get you more work. When you do get work, you work as hard as you freaking can and on your assignments and do the absolute best job you can, and you'll get more work. So work is given. When I was in, uh, my first job was at was Quinn Emanuel, and when I was there, I mean, I couldn't believe how much work I had. They brought in, they had to use like four guys to stack an extra like file cabinet because I had like so many cases, and I was like the lead associate on a lot of them. And I remember I was like, this is insane. Like I've got, two summary judgment motions and this due in the same week. And so I called this work partner and I was like, is this, can I get some help? And he's like, well, if you have more than one summary judgment motion due, and the summary judgment motion is basically like trying to get a case dismissed after doing all this discovery, then we'll get you some help. Meaning, no, we're not going to get you help. So, but I had a lot of work. But again, but some people don't have a lot of work. Like there was a girl that was a couple offices down from me, and she was from, I don't know, Berkeley or something, and didn't have any work. I mean, so people give work to if you do a good job and you're enthusiastic and you really want to help, then wouldn't you, if you're a partner, wouldn't you give your work to the person that's going to do the very best job they possibly can and will go all out? That's what you need to do. The other thing you need to do is you need to create work. So this is the most important thing. And I talked about it in the webinar today, but creating work means if you go, and I've told this story before, but it's very funny. I mean, it's a very funny story. So, but I'll tell it again, and it's just kind of what attorneys do. So I went to I remember going to a graduation party, and when I was in high school, and one of my friend's dads was an attorney. And in most areas of the country, if you're an attorney, it is a big deal. I was like, wow, I'm going to an attorney's house for a freaking graduation party. It's so cool. Like, it's like a big deal in most areas of the country. And so I went to this guy's house and for this graduation party. And at some point I told him I got some ticket for doing something stupid. I don't even remember what the ticket was. It might have been for, I wanted a raffle, a television, like a small one that you could plug into your cigarette lighter. And I was driving around or got a ticket for it or something. I might have been that. I don't know what it was. It was just and I told him about this ticket for driving around with the television on my dashboard of my van. And again, the van was because I was doing asphalt work. And he's like, oh my God, like this is horrible. Like if, you could, this could happen. It could jeopardize your this and this and this. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, I need to talk to your parents. And this is very serious. And, you definitely need an attorney. And then he did the same thing with a couple other kids that had stupid legal issues, like car things and, I don't know, but at the party. And so I realized when I thought back about that that's what good attorneys do. Good attorneys will go and find as much work as they possibly can from, and this guy, by the way, had this beautiful house he built on a lake in Pontiac, which is not a great area, but still is a brand new house on a lake, which I was extremely impressed of, and it was kind of modern, these big windows and things, and so he was obviously doing well financially, but he was doing auto acts, like tickets and things, and so this is what attorneys do. They have to find work and make up work, and he was making up work. Obviously, getting ticketed for having a television in your dashboard while you're driving around, which I thought was hilarious, but I mean is not that big of a deal. But he was acting like it was. So most attorneys, with their clients, the best attorneys will always have work and things that they need to do and other things, and that's what you should be doing with when you're given matters. If you're given a matter, you should say, and you turn in a memo, you should say, this is something we should also write about or investigate, I think, because this would really help the client, or maybe the client could file this motion, or maybe this transaction would help, or maybe researching some language to put in a contract. Like, this is what you need to do. That's how to be creative. But the first thing is, if you do really good work, you will get more work. Again, when I was at this Quinn Emanuel and had all this work, I was getting this work because I loved it and I was taking it seriously. Other people weren't. And you wouldn't, if you were a partner, who would you give your work to? Think about it. I mean, would you give it to someone that's taking it seriously or someone that's not? So this is what partners do. So there's kind of that. And then I think, and then you find work to be done. The final thing is if your firm doesn't have limited assignments, then you can do things also. You can improve your profile. So you can teach, you can go out and give talks, you can do whatever you can to make your firm look better. You can learn about different practice areas. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do to bring in work, and it's not really that it's not really that hard. But those are some strategies I have. Okay, I'm going to go to some of the later questions, then I'll come back. Let me just see. Okay, let me see here. See, usually we take criticism from law firms too personally. However, in what cases is severely harsh criticism a sign that you should leave or might be in danger? Okay, so let me just do that. Okay. A second. Okay, you said that we shouldn't take criticism from a law firm too personally. However, in what cases is severely harsh criticism a sign that you should leave and might be in danger? Okay, so the criticism from a law firm kind of works in a bunch of different ways, and I'll explain to you how criticism works. Criticism is kind of a fun topic, so I'm going to tell you a couple of kind of fun ways about criticism, fun things about criticism. So the first thing about criticism is there's kind of 2 points in being criticized. There's as a junior associate, there's a mid-level, and then there's at a senior. Okay, so junior associates should expect harsh criticism for the most part. Harsh criticism to the extent the law firm needs to do that. The law firm needs to do that to make them to improve. Make them improve. So the idea there is, that junior associates typically will make a lot of dumb mistakes, just like this earlier person was saying. And so the law firm typically has these kind of people whose job is to step in and give harsh criticism with the idea that you'll improve. And the reason that they can criticize junior associates harshly is a lot of law firms are always writing your hours off and not making money from you. So you're not really a money center for them at that point. But they want you to take their criticism and run with it. Now, the bigger and better the firm, the more the firm will criticize you. But typically that criticism is going to happen. It's not going to happen if you're like at Wachtell or something. You'll get that day to day, but it will happen at most of your big firms to some extent. Mid-level associates is where the firm starts making a lot of money off you, and they do that because they can give you work. You know what you're doing. You're profitable. You're just great. You're not a threat to be partner. There's no reason to criticize you. And here things become glowing. They start saying things like you're on the right track. We love you. Maybe your hours could be a little better, but you're awesome. And they don't have to write your time off. Your billing rates are not a threat. Meaning what happens with your billing rates is as your billing rates increase, if your billing rates, like say $700 an hour, that's not a partner that makes $1,200 an hour can give you work all day and it looks like they're doing a nice thing for their clients. If your billing rate is $1,100 an hour and you're a senior associate, then that partner is going to, first of all, they make more money when they do the work themselves. So instead of making 20%, if they give or 50% of the money they're billing, they might make 20 if they give it to you. Again, there's different formulas in different firms, but you become a threat as your senior associate. So you're a senior associate, they may say things like, you're on the right track, but generally the reviews start getting a little weird. So they may not be making as much money from you. You're more of a threat because your billing rate is a little bit higher. So partners, your billing rate's kind of getting closer to partners. So in order for them to give you work, they're making less money. So you become kind of a money thing again. And not only that, but you could make partner as well, in which case even though a big firm, it doesn't really compute. Theoretically, you're taking more of the profits of the firm, and that's a threat to them too. And then, of course, they were hazed very highly when they were senior associates, so they're going to haze you. So senior associates will often get weird reviews that are just kind of neutral and nothing's happening, or they might be a little bit negative. I was talking to a senior associate not too long ago, and she said something like, I was in this review and they brought up something about me turning down an assignment 5 years ago, and I couldn't understand. Like, they're like, that was the nail in the coffin. And after but no one ever said anything to me until I was a senior associate. I was like, why did you turn the assignment? She's like, I don't know, I was on vacation. Or, I mean, it's like, they needed something. It was like something really stupid. So senior associate reviews get weird too. But if you're getting bad reviews as a junior associate, that's pretty normal. This is just what they do. Now, let me tell you what happens, though, with the reviews as well. I had an interesting experience. I've told this before, but a lot of times, if you have incredible hours, meaning you're working incredible hours, your reviews will often be nothing but positive. Not always, but nothing but positive. So if you're the highest, if you have the highest billable hours in your class, or you're working lots of hours, and you may just get nothing but positive reviews. And it's really when I was a summer associate, I've had a couple things that told me how important the hours were. One was when I was leaving one firm, I complained that no one is, that the person I liked didn't make partner. And they told me, well, that person only billed 2,800 hours, and the person that we made partner billed 3,300 hours last year. I'm like, wow. So nothing about the quality of the work, it's just about the hours. I had another experience when I was a summer associate at a firm, and this girl that had also gone to law school with me, they gave a midsummer review or whatever, and everyone got horrible reviews. They're like, I got this review, and they were like, nothing's written in stone, but we're definitely concerned and stuff. And I realized I was just kind of coming in at 8 every day, or 9 or 10 or whatever. They come in later in New York, 10, and leaving at 5 or 6, and what she was doing, this girl that was a summer, so someone had told her that the only thing you need to do is bill a lot of hours. And so I was like, everyone came out of these reviews and had gotten these horrible reviews, and was like, what the hell's going on? This girl I was in my office, shared an office with, it was like, I don't know, she was like, just made, editor-in-chief of the Columbia Law Review. I mean, and she got a horrible review as well. And but anyway, so long story short, this girl said that, someone told me that I'm a summer associate. This girl that's my mentor that I went to college with said that all I need to do is bill a lot of hours. So she came out and got this incredible review. So the rest of the summer, all I did is I came in at 8, worked till 8, 9, and build these incredible hours, and build 60, 70 hours a week. And at the end of the summer, they're like, wow, what department do you want to work in? What, you're awesome. Like, and the quality of my work hadn't changed. The only thing that changed is my dedication, my hours. So a lot of times criticism comes from low hours. So they assume that if you're billing a lot of hours, you must be doing good work. And again, partners get these reports every week or sometimes monthly of what people's hours are, what other partners' hours are, what associates' partners' hours are. They can sort them by, and this is just what it's about. So hours are really what people will criticize you for. If you don't have good hours, that's often what it is. Now, severely harsh reviews, if you don't have big hours, which again, most people that have good hours are going to get good reviews. But if you don't have a lot of hours, and you're still getting harsh reviews, and you're not a junior associate and you're a mid-level associate getting harsh reviews, then you may be doing something wrong, or the firm really doesn't have a lot of work. But my point that I just want everyone to understand is you're not going to know everything you're doing for the first 3 to 5 years. So you're going to make mistakes, and that's not really what it's about. What it's about is your attitude and drive and ability to create work, and how dedicated the law firm thinks you are, and how much they trust you, and frankly, how much they like you. I mean, if I like someone, I will do whatever I can to do a good job with them. If I don't, I mean, to make sure that they stick around. If I don't, that's that. So sometimes law firms will give people negative reviews to get them to leave. Okay. Oh, the links are in the chat. Okay, thank you. Someone put that there. Okay, let's see here. Okay, yeah. So someone says, should I risk staying at my job or should I look for one if my firm's laying people off? Yes, you should definitely. If your firm's laying people off, you should definitely. If it was me, I would. And the layoffs are in your practice area, I would start looking for a job. Now, the layoffs, a lot of times when there's layoffs, sometimes they're confined to corporate or they're confined to certain practice areas. And if you have a lot of work and you're working with a partner that has a lot of work, then you're probably okay. Or if you're in a practice area where there's a lot of work, you're okay. But if you are, if you're like in corporate and your firm's laying people off, yeah, you should sure as hell start looking for a job. And by the way, no one finds out that you're looking for a job. No, I mean, like I have been doing this for 25 years. I had one instance where the fact that one of my candidates, again, worked with tens of thousands of people. One verified instance where one of my candidates someone found out that he was looking for a job, and it got back to the firm he was at. The only reason, actually, it didn't even get back to the firm he was at because he was no longer working there. So what happened is, I'll just tell you this story because I know people are paranoid about it getting out that they're looking for a job, but I just want to tell you two stories. So I had one candidate, he was at a big firm in LA, I think it was a Midwestern-based firm, and he was fired from his firm for doing something questionably illegal. Guess I'll leave it at that. And so he didn't tell me this, and so I was sending his background and stuff to other firms around LA, and one of the firms, and then the firm he was at, went before looking for a job, called me and said, I know you're representing him. I know you've been sending him out because someone called me, but you should know that he committed this crime, and that's what's happening. And one of the firms that you sent him to is was involved in this and knows about it because so that's the only time this has ever happened. So other than that, never had a candidate's confidentiality disturbed. It's the worst thing that a law firm can do. Law firms are not sitting around. These partners, by the way, are worrying about their deals and their business. The last thing in the world they have time to do is pick up the phone because some associate is looking for a job and call someone at another firm. They just don't do that. I mean, it just doesn't happen. It may if they want to do a reference check at some point, but it doesn't happen. They don't have the time for that. They're too busy. They would rather be billing hours. Come on. And they don't disturb your confidentiality, because if they disturb your confidentiality, they do it with a recruiting firm. They know the recruiter is never going to send them anybody. I still remember the firm that did that, decades later. And so firms do not look, no one's calling your firm. It's not getting out that you're looking for a job. The only people where it's going to get out that you're looking for a job is if you tell anybody you're working with at your firm you're looking for a job, or your friends that may know people in your firm you're looking for a job. Do not do that. They will use it against you. Okay, you should never tell anybody in your firm that you're looking for a job. I just would not tell even someone you think is your best friend. Can you be trusted with every secret? You might be able to, but most people can't. So do not tell anybody you're looking for a job. The law firms you're looking for a job for, by the way, will not tell anybody either. They will keep it confidential. The associates you're interviewing won't say your name to other people. This is the worst thing you can possibly do. It makes them look bad. It makes them look like scum. And people don't like to look like scum. So no one's going to talk to anybody about you looking for a job. That's like your therapist picking up the phone and calling to your friends and saying, is this really true what this person said about you? I mean, this just doesn't happen. So I just want to be clear. Now, it may happen occasionally. It doesn't happen with me because they know that I will never send them people again. But I mean, does it happen occasionally? It may happen in some small markets, like if two attorneys are friends and competitive and immature, but no, it's not something to worry about. So yes, you should look for a job. You shouldn't be afraid of looking for a job. You should definitely, if your firm is laying people off in your practice area, the dumbest thing you can do would not be to look for a job. You need to look right away. Now, other thing is when a firm lays people off, they should be giving you time to look for a job. And let's just talk about some layoff guidelines right now. If you're laid off, what you need to do is, first of all, you should be looking for a job before you're laid off. The next thing you should be doing before you look for a job, before you're laid off, is if you are laid off, you need to tell the firm, listen, man, this is not cool. Like you're hurting me. And I demand that you allow me to use your firm's website and keep me up there. I demand that you, give me, what else is there? There's, you use the website, there's having your voicemail, there's email. I mean, all these things that you should be negotiating with your firm. And I don't know why some firms will be adverse to that, but most of them aren't. Most of them are pretty cool about it. And so that's what you want to do. Now, the reason that law firms, of course, if you go, I was reading these articles on JD Journal about, stealth layoffs at Kirkland, layoffs at Gunderson, layoffs at, it's always the same firms too, by the way. I mean, it's usually, they're laying, they because they have big clients and the work slows down. And yeah, so if your law firm's laying you off, I guess, the only thing that, when you are laid off, you just need to be very quick about taking action and looking for a new job. And then I guess the final thing I was saying was and kind of the layoff advice about how to avoid it, making sure that you have access to your voicemail. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But what I was saying is the reason law firms don't like to admit layoffs is because it makes them look like they're not economically strong to their clients and also hurts their brands with other attorneys that may be looking for a job. So they would rather than hurt their brand with their clients, rather than hurt their brand with future law students and people that they rely on, they try to make it look like it's your fault. So if they're laying 10 people off in a 1,000 people firm or 50 people off in a 1,000 person firm, they would rather make it your problem rather than theirs or others in the future. Is that fair? No. But is that what big businesses can do? Yes. And big businesses, which your law firms are, have been trampling on, that's how they behave. And so it's just what you need to do. So your job is to protect yourself. And if you are laid off, to make sure that you see the warning signs happening. A lot of people think, I'm going to work remotely. I'm going to, it's my right to work remotely. It's, I don't need to socialize after work. My private life and my private time is mine. No, you should be in the office because you can pick up rumors that way. You should be in the office because people will, if they see you there every day, it's much more personal laying you off in person. If you're right next to a partner and you're giving him work and and you're stopping by and being friendly with them or her, than it is to lay you off if you're just some frickin' remote attorney. Remote attorney is very easy to lay off. I would love to lay off a remote attorney if I was at a law firm. That's the first person I would let go. So think about this. You need to be in the office. You need to be having relationships. You need to be going out to events and things. And if you're laid off, fine. But when they see names, and they talk about the names, they look at them. If you're in the office and seeing, someone will step up and say, no, I like this person, don't let them go. So you need to protect yourself. And a lot of times these layoffs come out of nowhere. They're not going to give you they're not going to give you fair warning that they're going to lay you off. It's going to come out of nowhere. There's going to be some meeting, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're gone. So you need to prepare yourself and take actions in advance. I hope that's a helpful answer because this topic is makes me a little mad. Okay, should I take a temporary public defender position with a shorter commute, better pay, and an opportunity to get into the public sector? Even though criminal law is my area of focus, my current employer provides great mentorship, but there's concerns about not getting enough work. Well, I don't know what kind of work you're currently doing. It sounds like you're not doing this type of work, but if criminal law doesn't have to be your area of focus. If you like criminal law, that's a great practice area. It's one of the practice areas that tends to do well in recessions and all economic climates. It's actually quite interesting for a lot of people, and they like it. You can have a lot of employment stability doing it. If you like arguing and different kind of personalities and kind of excitement, it can be fun. And if your current employer provides a great mentorship, but there's concern about getting enough work, then that might be a good idea. What I am concerned about with what you're saying is once you leave a law firm, now it's different in criminal. So there's certain practice areas which are like criminal is one of them, where you can leave and go to the public sector and go back to a law firm because obviously criminal law involves the government and you can do that there. But most practice areas, if you were doing, say, commercial litigation, and then you want to go back to commercial litigation after doing criminal law, that's not going to happen. So you have to be pretty concerned, if you ever want to work in your practice area again, you have to be pretty careful about doing criminal law. That's a lot of talking. Okay, so temporary public defender. And if anybody has a follow-up question about any of this, let me know. Okay, so this is a question about work-life balance. So, which is a good question. So I'd like to, I like this question, whoever asks this one, it's a good one. Okay, so no work-life balance or one to sacrifice extra income for a better work-life balance. So I think when anyone is a young attorney, you're typically, you have a much different energy level than you will have and when you're older. You also have, you're also more open to learning. So law firms that are giving you a lot of work when you're young, that are very prestigious, will teach you how to do things right, and they'll give you a lot of work, and they'll typically teach you kind of a lot of lower level tasks and expect you to become proficient in that before you get into higher level. So it's very rare, for example, for associates in big law firms to ever do trials until they become like lead attorney on a trial until they become partners. And it's very rare for, instead they spend their first couple of years doing discovery and, or, I mean, I guess they run deals in some big firms when they're young. I was talking to someone from another great firm, Sullivan & Cromwell, the other day, and they was telling me how they were young running deal. But the point is that, as a young associate, but the point is that I think you're should not worry too much about work-life balance when you're young, and get the training first. And then once you have the training, it's going to put you in much better shape later on. And that's what how I would handle that question. Having the work-life balance is good. At some point in your career, you may want to have work-life balance, meaning you may decide that that's more important to you than and working in a demanding environment. And I respect that decision. I think that you may not even want to practice law in the future. I mean, you never know. But having that work-life balance is good, and it may actually be healthier for you and more appropriate for your disposition. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if I was you and I was young, and I'm assuming you're young, you could be, for all I know, a 70-year-old partner thinking about working in another big firm, which again, this happens, or a big, I would take the one that gives you the best training when you're young, because that training, by the way, makes a big difference. I mean, I want to make another point that I think is very important for everyone to understand. The reason it's important many times to go to good schools is because you're surrounded by people that think about the world and have big goals and things. That's the only reason. It's not because you learn anything differently. And it's because the collective thoughts and things of the people as a group make a certain type of person. I'm just my opinion, and the professors. And it's also the reason it's important to go to certain types of employers when you're young, because if you go to the big firms and think about work and stuff a certain way, you will adopt the mannerisms and the way of thinking about work that they have, and that's important because they do things in a certain way, and often it's a very good way, and most of the time, and you'll learn skills there that you might not learn other places, and you'll watch how people do things. So that's why I would recommend going to the best firm you can. Now, just because you don't doesn't mean not going to hurt you into anything bad, but it can be helpful. Let's see. Okay, with skills. Okay, what is the risk? Oh, thank you for asking a question about TLS. I love that site, by the way. And if anyone here is a member of that, I am going to improve the heck out of it. I've tended to be hands off with it because it seems to upset the members. So I haven't worked on it. I mean, people kind of like it as their own. All the moderators, by the way, if anybody wants to be a moderator on there, we'd love to have your help. But it's kind of, I really have nothing to do with it. I put some BCG ads up there, but I'd love to be more involved. It's just that I think it's more of its own community. And so, and I haven't made any efforts to make money off it or anything. But it's a nice site for people. It's terribly expensive when we bought it. I mean, but anyway, if anybody uses TLS, if you put in the chat your email and you want to be a moderator or something, certainly would be appreciated, because we're always looking for help for people. I mean, the site is run by the community. It's really, I honestly have nothing to do with it. And every time I try to get involved in it, people seem to not like any outside involvement, and I understand that. So it's run by the members. But I'd like to improve the look and feel of it and some functions and things to help the community. So what are the personal risks associated with posting information about a toxic employer on a site like TLS? There are no risks. The only risk of posting information about toxic employers, and there's nothing wrong, by the way, with warning other people about toxic places and things on TLS, and no one's going to delete your post or anything. I won't see it. I mean, but the only risk associated with posting that sort of information are that it will get back that you posted something. So I'll tell you a quick story. It's kind of scary, and but I'll tell you a quick story. There was a big firm in New York City that where someone posted something very toxic about the firm. Like, it was very mean. I mean, it was a big firm. It was one of the, you can think of the 3 most or 4 largest big, names, and someone posted something very toxic, and there were people, and I don't know if it might have been on TLS, I don't remember. Anyway, so there were a lot of people were insulted and that sort of thing. So what happened was that the firm apparently had, for all of the associates in the firm, they had, and no one knew it, of course, they had screen recording software running in the background. No one knew it. You couldn't see it by searching your computer or anything. And so the law firm simply went in and found out who did it, and fired the person, and then I think might have even sued them for some things that they said that they didn't think were true. So this can happen. It can happen. I had another funny thing happen. I had another guy that I knew pretty well, and he was working at I don't know, Cadwalader or something, and he figured out how to break into the voicemail system and change someone's outbound greeting, and so he broke into this very uptight partner's voicemail while he was on vacation, and talked about him, I don't know, being at a nudist resort and unreachable or something about, but pretended like he was the partner and his secretary, and very funny. And of course, they figured out that someone from his extension log, I mean, so firms, I'm just saying, if a firm really wants to, they can figure this out. I have, and I'll just tell you some more stories about this because you're asking this, and it's just nice to put this information out there. The thing with Cadwalader was very funny, by the way, when I heard about it. And it's not because Cadwalader is a bad firm or anything. It's just because the guy that did it was just freaking crazy. But he he went to, I think he'd gone to University of Virginia, and he'd started a website called Information, which is an old kind of gossip site. And then I ended up sponsoring that site. This is a long time ago. which was one of the ways that BCG kind of got prominent. But anyway, the other thing is when you post this negative information, what law firms do all the time is they some of them will get very mad, especially the smaller law firms, because what happens, like if you post a negative review of your employer on Law Crossing, or you post one on BCG, we obviously, it's a public forum or TLS, so we don't take it down. We leave it up as long as you're not threatening to blow the place up or something. No one's going to mess with your review. It's not. There's no policing of negative reviews unless they're dangerous or something. So what happens is, because these sites have authority with search engines, they start coming up at the top. So you could leave a negative review about a big firm, and that could be a long one. And so suddenly, when someone types in information about that firm, it comes right up at the top. And so then what people do is, some of the firms, not big firms, but some of the firms will actually file lawsuits against like our company, like demanding we take it down. And of course, I have to defend those, and it's expensive and dumb. And we always win because you have the right. But that's what happens. And so the company, I certainly, if you want to write bad reviews, I mean, I'll defend you, and it's up to you. I mean, but I'm just saying this is what happens when people write information about toxic employers. Another thing I would say is in a lot of states, which is like California, Illinois, there's something called anti-SLAPP statutes. And I'm just talking about this because everyone in this call is a law student or attorney. And what that means is, if you say something that's free speech and you're caught, and as long as it's not defamation, and defamation means anything other than an opinion. So if you say so-and-so is a criminal and they're not a criminal, well, that's defamation. But if you say so-and-so, in my opinion, is doing things that are criminal-like, that's an opinion. Again, don't quote me on that, but anything that's opinion is not defamation. So if you are to post, if you write something negative and you're sued, you can file what's called an anti-SLAPP statute, which means you're entitled to all the costs of defending yourself and everything. And most states will, and judges will automatically award that to you. And they did that because what used to happen is they started in California. People would say negative things about oil companies, like they're polluting, my groundwater's polluted, and my kids all have cancer. And then the oil companies would sue them. And then so they came out with these things called anti-SLAPP statutes, which basically says that if people write negative things about you, or if you write something that's an opinion and you're sued for it, you can sue back in an anti-SLAPP. And so that's why you generally don't get in trouble. But if you're going to write negative things about your firm, if you search for BCG, you could do it there. You could write them on Law Crossing, you could write them on Top Law Schools, you can write them on Glassdoor. I think maybe Indeed allows that. But if you write negative things, you should also write positive things about the places that are good. And the only risk is getting caught. You're not going to get caught by the publication turning over your negative statement, because they won't. They'll defend you. That's what we do all day, and that's what Glassdoor, and they'll defend you. But not only that, if you are sued and somehow caught because you've given information that they know that it's you, and they try to come after you, you can sue in an anti-SLAPP statute, which is kind of fun. So, and it's very funny how uptight some of these firms are. Not big firms, but smaller firms and stuff, and people say negative things about them because that's all they have. So someone messes with you, I guess. I mean, that's your outlet, which is fine. I certainly have had experiences where I've fired people on things, and they've done that to me, and it does cause a lot of headaches and can hurt their reputation and all sorts of things. And so it's just what it is. But you could definitely, if you post information, there's really no personal risk. I would be very careful, though, about putting information that could come back to you, because people take that stuff very seriously. Okay, so what are strategies that attorneys can use to overcome identity problems and increase their work opportunities? Well, I mean, in terms of your identity problems, I don't know, quite understand this question, but I would say that if your identity needs to be surrounded to being an attorney. That's the only thing I can say in response to that. So, the law firm is not a therapeutic. I mean, they're hiring people with certain skills. So that's what I would how I would answer that. Okay, let me see here. Okay, let me see. This person is just asking more questions about this. Okay, so this person is just saying, I was at a smaller, less prestigious firm that had low hour requirement. However, I still ended up thrown to the wolves, fired when my hours were low, and I was given inconsistent work. I worked in litigation. Most of the firm's work was not litigation related. My outcome has been materialized, and I was laid off. How can I ask my well? Okay, so you don't care. I mean, who cares? So it's not your fault. So let me just be very clear with you. So you three C's. You didn't cause it. You can't control it. Well, I did not. Did not. You can't control it. Can't cure it. So who cares? I mean, like none of this. Again, just because you were, things didn't work out. I mean, have you ever been in a relationship, with a significant other that didn't work out? I mean, probably partially your fault, but it's also their fault. And there's relationships that do work out. When things work out, you get married, and you realize that it's going to be a good long-term relationship. So things don't always work out. I personally was horrible at chemistry. Didn't work out. So I did something different and I mean, who cares? You don't have to blame yourself. This is not your problem. You need to learn maybe that you picked the wrong law firm or but upcoming assignments and materialize. If they had, okay, it's just like this. If this law firm had work for you to do, they would have given it to you because they would have made money, right? So that's it. The law firm didn't have work to do. If just put it this way, if my say my daughter is willing to answer phones for me for $10 an hour, and if people hire me to answer phones, I charge them $50 an hour, and she's sitting around saying, "Oh, I don't have any work to do. What am I doing wrong?" Well, obviously, if I had $50, if I could charge her out at $50 an hour, I would be. So none of this is your fault. Come on, let's be honest here. Like this isn't, you didn't cause this. You can't control it. You can't cure it. It's the law firm's fault. They didn't have the work. So who cares? Like, don't worry about it, man. Like anytime a law firm is super busy and has a lot of work, most of the people have work. Now you need to be enthusiastic and everything, but if they had work, they would have given it to you. They don't care. They just want to make money. Wouldn't you do the same? Like, just think about it. If you have someone sitting around, that will charge you $10 an hour, and you can charge $50 an hour for their work, which is pretty similar to what happens in a law firm. What would you do? So just, kind of think about it that way. Okay. Let me see here. What else we got? Question. We have ideal hours. Did someone ask a question about ideal hours? Your hours should be more than other people you're working with. So let me just ask them that. What is the ideal amount of or achieve optimal performance? Okay, so when you're working in a law firm, if you want to stand out as an associate or a partner or whatever, the ideal amount of hours is more than your peers. That's it. Your peers. And you should not, by the way, this is just a little piece of advice about billing hours. You should be billing. I would go to work and work till, say I work till midnight or whatever, and just telling you the way I used to be. I would be so wired from drinking coffee. I would drive home, crack a beer, maybe have a cigarette, This is a long time ago. I don't certainly smoke or anything like that or drink even anymore, but think about, calm down, thinking about the work I was doing for a few hours, go to sleep, wake up, think about the work some more in the shower, literally think about nothing but the work, and think that the only thing I should ever be billing for was the time that I was sitting behind my desk. Well, no, if I drove home thinking about the work for 45 minutes, and then I thought about and made notes and thought about strategies and stuff for another 2 hours when I got home, then got up and thought about the work some more. And I used to carry around a little recorder and made some notes about things. That's billable hours. So come on, you have to think about how to make sure that you're billing hours. Like you bill more hours in your peers. Now, is that ethical what I was doing? No, I didn't bill hours for that. That's what I'm saying is what if I was doing it now, I know that that's what partners do in most firms. That's what you need to do. So like you need to figure out how to bill your time and hours on things that are related. And I would, think about it that way. Okay, let's see here. Someone says, are you really endorsing taking math? No, of course I'm not endorsing taking math. I've never even seen math. I don't know what this question's about. I'm just saying that this is what people do. Okay, let's see here. What qualities or skills make an attorney stand up law firms? That someone wanted to work directly with you. How would they contact you? All right, that's not something. I typically, I do work with attorneys, but what I would recommend is if someone does want to work with our company, you can put your resume in BCG. The best way to get anyone's attention is no one cares, by the way, at our company. I don't care where you went to law school. I don't care how prestigious your firm is. All I care about is if you're focused on a practice area. I like it if you went to a good law school and have a good background, but I care about your focus. And so if someone wants to work with our company, I care about their focus. I personally believe that this business is better. I know a lot of people want counseling and want to talk to people. I do have this service that I'm coming out with called reverse recruiting, which is not working with a recruiter. It's helping a recruiter apply on your own, but I'm working with people in that. It's called BCG /reverse-recruiting or something. I don't know what, but I just want to make a couple statements about recruiting. Most of the time when you work with a legal recruiter, the legal recruiter is it's a sales job. They're trying to sell you on whatever is going to get them a commission. And I don't think, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just how it works when you go into a car dealership or when you talk to a real estate salesman for your house. It's just how the world works. But I don't think that's the best way for attorneys to get jobs. I think your best way to get a job is to have access to information that's good. And information that's good means information that comes through that is sorted, where you're using data science, where we're looking at what's happened historically. So say our company right now is working with, I'm just giving you a hypothetical number, 10,000 people. And all of those 10,000 people are applying to firms all over the country. And we're watching how many times each firm opens a resume, how many types of resumes the firm opens, who interviews who, how often the firm tends to interview, what seasons they interview. All these different things, factors, more than you can imagine. And they're looked at, and what types of schools and what types of firms and what firms hire from what firms. And there's so much to this, like you wouldn't believe it. Like it's not something that any human can possibly understand. It's way beyond that. That's if you want to get a job, because there's a lot going on here. Like there's, and then you have individuals in certain firms that maybe, and then you have there's so much going on, and it's impossible for one recruiter to possibly understand it. We've got a freaking data center, like a BCG Attorney Search, where our bills, this is a data center, okay? This is just a data center, like with a bunch of servers, are $17,000 a month. This is just computers processing information. This is freaking insane. So this is what goes into, and this isn't even, these are not humans. Think about, I might be smart, but I can't even operate at 5% of the level that that using all this information can help. So if you want to work with me, I'm happy to talk to you about your life and your goals and things, and I love doing that. I would recommend reading my blog, harrisonbarnes.com. But the big thing is that I would recommend is I'm a firm believer that if you want to get a job, work directly with me. What you're going to work with is, if you want to work with me personally and have me tell you about my opinions about different firms and why they're bad and what people are saying or why they're good. I mean, I can do that. But what I would recommend is really using this $100+ million worth of investment in our database to go out and let that work for you and sign up on our site and start getting jobs. And if you're focused in your practice area, I don't care if you're a drunk driving attorney. I don't care if you're a workers' comp. I don't care if you're working at, you went to Yale and you're working at Wachtell. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. That data is going to help you more than I could possibly help you, and more than any recruiter could possibly help you. I don't have anything against recruiters, but I do have something against the limitations of the human mind. Come on, I mean, it's impossible to tell you what you need, without using. I just can't do the same kind of work. So I do work with people occasionally, when directly, but I believe that that this business is extended if you understand it far beyond that, and that's how I would help you. And I would also recommend watching a lot of our videos, just because that'll kind of introduce you to this philosophy in ways. I mean, the only benefit of working with this is that I've been doing this for so long. So I do have, and I keep investing in the business over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, I'm not happy to just sit around and like a lot of people and say, oh, I'm a successful recruiter, I make this money, and look at me. No, I sit in an office. I rarely leave. I spend time with my family, of course, but this is all I do. And this is, and I keep investing in this, and because I believe in it, I believe in you. So that's kind of my pitch. But I think that's pretty much most of the questions. Let me just see anything else. Okay, I think that's about it. So thank you everyone for being on the webinar today. I do appreciate it. I'm not sure what topic we're going to do next week, but I think I'm just so impressed with everyone's questions today. I think they're great. I'm very impressed with everyone that's on this call and webinar, because I can't believe it would be very hard for me to sit through something that's this long. But I think anybody that is hungry for this sort of information, is asking questions and listening to this stuff. I mean, wow. I mean, you guys are so far ahead. The stuff I taught you today took me decades to learn. And the fact that you're able to listen to this advice and stuff is remarkable. So I definitely, commend you for doing that, and very much appreciate people that take the time to learn. I get calls. I'll just say this and I'll close, but I get calls and messages on LinkedIn and stuff pretty regularly. Like, I would say, once every 1 or 2 weeks or something, and someone will say, oh, I'm a partner at Simpson Thatcher, and I started listening to your stuff when I was a junior associate. And now I've got this $25 million book of business, and I was lucky to get a job there. I started out as a staff attorney, and I listened to your stuff, and I turned into a real attorney. I mean, I get stuff like that all the time, and so it's not because it's just because of willingness to learn is really what it's about. I'm glad that you're learning, and I can teach you this stuff. And it's not me that's making this stuff happen. It's learning and absorbing this information. So that's why I think it's so powerful that you're able to do that. And certainly I do appreciate people that learn. I think it's awesome. So, but that's it. And thank you. And I will talk to everyone or see everyone next week.